Hello and welcome to the MinnMax Show, a place about games, friends, and getting better. I'm Ben Hanson, joined by, people smiling in the new year. We have Leo Vader.
Hello.
Oh, voice
You
is
can hear
rough.
it in the voice when you're smiling. Hello.
I've been listening to a lot of Tom Petty lately, Leo, and I think more than any other singer, he stands out where I feel like I can hear when he's smiling. You know, like in Free Fallin' when he goes, all the vampires. Like, that's like the most smiley line read of all time.
Because he's really proud of the lyrics.
He loves vampires. They make him happy. Ana Diaz is here.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome. And Jeff Marchiafava.
Hello.
Smiley as ever. Thank you for being here. Thanks for sticking with MinnMax or finding MinnMax. We appreciate either way. We had a fun time over the holidays going through a ton of games, sorting through and creating the official MinnMax list of the 210s, figuring out the greatest games from the year. There was debating, there was ranking, tears, laughs, everything. Yet still, Leo, you would never guess this. We published it, put it on the internet, and said, hear ye, come check out our list. And some people were like, hey, this list freaking sucks.
Weird.
Yeah, there were a couple people. So here's
Maybe
the thing.
they're looking at their monitor upside down.
That could be, yeah. So we might have, in your mind, gotten some things wrong because we were making a subjective list of the games that we love the most as a MinnMax collective group. But
That's all we can do.
is it though, Jeffem? What if we were to create a bona fide scientific objective list of the greatest games of 2020 by letting the community create a new version of the 210s, not replacing our 210s. But what we did is we went in the MinnMax Discord, which you get access to if you support us at any tier on Patreon, and we had people vote for their top 10s. Shazira and the other mods tallied them up, did a great job, and so now we actually have some sort of official verdict ranking slot spot for the community's 210s. So you can disagree with us all you want, but can't argue with science, everybody, as we know from the world today. So that's what we'll be doing on this episode, is going through the community's list for the best games of 2020. And we have our personal list to share as well, just to get as subjective as possible. We had our collective list, but now we're going to break it all down and share our individual lists for our 10 favorite games of 2020. And also, we're going to be sharing Kyle's and Suriel's. Although Kyle, if you go on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/MinnMax Show, you can see Kyle's standalone list. He made a video version as well if you want to hear his dulcet tones, which I think we all do. And then we have a bunch of great community questions, which I can't wait to get back into. It's been too long. Ana, how you feeling? Do you feel rested? Do you feel like the break was breakish?
Yeah, the break was very breakish, which is nice because it doesn't always, in quarantine. Sometimes days off just feel like another day, right?
Yeah.
But I had an incredible New Year's and birthday, so.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you.
I'm sorry for the cliche question, but does it suck to have the birthday just wedged in here in the holiday season?
Definitely. Do you know what I get? I get the double gift, like this is for Christmas and your birthday, which would never happen if my birthday was in the summer.
Yeah.
But it is nice because I've never worked on my birthday because it is like right by New Year's. So
that's true.
Yeah.
The rest
so
of
I
us,
actually,
yeah.
I don't complain because it's not a bad spot for a birthday.
Yeah. Leo, have you ever taken a day off for your birthday? It always feels too self-indulgent for me, but are you self-indulgent?
How vain are you, Leo?
Yeah. I think once I have. The bad thing about my birthday is that it fell on the first day of school a few times, K through 12.
Ooh.
That's rough.
Yeah.
Because there's so much going on. There's so much excitement. No one has time to pay attention to you. Like the teacher has to introduce who they are. So the idea of like calling out, oh, birthday from Leo today. No one's going to do that.
Right.
It's almost like it's your fault everyone's back in school at that point.
Exactly. And that's why my whole life I've had to like work harder to feel the same amount of love.
Right. Smart. Well, speaking of love, we love these games from 2020, don't we, everybody? Look at all these winners. So, again, people in the Discord, the community in the Discord, thank you so much for rallying and submitting your votes. I think it's a very interesting list that they've compiled here, including they had a write-in category, because the mods are very smart, for best DLC of the year. Does anybody have a guess for what the best DLC was according to the MinnMax community?
Well, the Outer Worlds one.
Ooh, Perils of Gorgon or whatever.
Peril on Gorgon.
I haven't heard a thing about that. Is that good? Leave a comment if that's good. I assume it's good, but I haven't heard anybody talk about it. It's not.
I have a guess.
Oh, yes, Anna.
Destiny 2 Beyond Light. Does that count as DLC or is that an update?
I think that's a standalone thingy. Yeah.
No. Okay.
How about Monster Hunter?
Was there DLC this year?
Iceborne?
Iceborne was last year, wasn't it?
It came out on PC this year, but
Look, I don't know.
A bunch of great guesses so far, but no one's quite close. It was Ghost of Tsushima Legends, the multiplayer co-op thing. Very ambitious. People really love that in the community. And I feel bad. I don't think any of us have tried it this year.
Yeah, that has the raid mode, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
All that stuff. Okay, let's run down this community list, and then we can have our discussions if we have anything left to say about the game as we're running down and celebrating the community's choices. All right. This is where it gets tough not to say top 20 games. All right. The community's 210s. What is at the bottom of the second list for the 210s? Any guesses what that game could be? It's one that objectively is good, but you got to imagine not that many people are playing. But no doubt, great game.
Undermine?
Nope. Leo, I'm looking at you in particular. One of the best games of the year that barely anybody played this year for very important reasons. Financial, practical, technological reasons.
Oh, Half-Life Alyx?
Half-Life Alyx, everybody, is in the final spot from the MinnMax community. Jeffem, do you ever lose sleep about the fact that you probably won't play Half-Life Alyx in your life?
No.
Yeah.
It bums me out, but you know, there is that practicality of it that I'm just not. VR wasn't made for me, even if it wasn't as expensive as it is.
Yeah.
I'm just not that interested in it.
I think Daniel Dwyer, I believe, I think it's on his personal YouTube channel, but I think he has a full Let's Play of Half-Life Alyx just to try and show just a fraction of what's cool about that game, which is a fun idea. And I don't think he has any commentary over it.
I'm sure I'd get it from that.
I think you get the idea, yeah. Next one on the list. This is, by the way, do you like it as light hints, trying to guess it?
Yes.
Okay. Next one on the list is a game that did not make our 210s, but was very popular. I think you can call this more than a flash in the pan. It was like a low simmer in a pan for maybe a month and a half, and the industry said, this is it. They've cracked the code. This developer we've never heard of before. They made Murder by Numbers. They made the Hotiful Boyfriend port. The studio's name is Mediatonic, and the game is... It's a new twist on an old favorite, a certain Battle Royale-esque take.
Fall Guys?
Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout, next on that list. Wonderful choice. I love the community rally for that one. This one here. This is a game that I feel bad for not celebrating more because it's a remake / remaster. They added new music. They added an epilogue. It is a remake of a Switch game that was released in the United States in early 2012 after Operation Rainfall. This is an RPG on the Switch. The remake that came out this year is some of the best music in gaming.
You don't have to wait that long.
All right, that is Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition next on the community list. All right, this next entry on the community list. What number? Who can say? This is 2019, 18. This is 17.
You didn't number the list, Hanson?
Number 17. Here it is.
No, it's the 210s.
It's 210s, Jeffem. It's impossible to number.
Right.
This game, some would argue, some have argued within the last 10 minutes, this is mere DLC. But nay, the community says it's so good, this is a standalone thing.
Destiny Beyond Light.
Destiny 2 Beyond Light. Way to go. Next one on the list is...
it's interesting that it actually got up that high. Mm-hmm. I don't know that I would think our community would be that into Destiny.
The channel in the Discord is hopping.
They are the only people I know of who are into Destiny, as a matter of fact.
Fair enough.
I love it.
It's cool that they're into it enough to continue on with each expansion, because I think, like we said during our larger discussion, like it is so daunting. Even I have enjoyed what I've played of Destiny 2, but I feel like it would just be impossible to go back to at this point. So
not impossible, they say. Next entry on the list. This is a game that focuses on death, but in the sweetest, most charming way possible. Leo Vader, I'm looking. Spiritfarer. There it is. Way to go. Next one on the list, number 15. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, number 15, of course. This is a game that, Jeffem, I think you went above and beyond to vouch for this game, despite it being way too big for any human being to consume.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla. There you go. Next
I feel
game.
like I did that for a couple games that were
That's true.
big.
Number 14 is a game that I think it's fair to consider the number one snub from MinnMax's 210s. A game that all of us think is good. Suriel, I believe, is the only one who finished it. Jeffem liked it, but did not make our 210s. And people were furious. They said, frankly, go to hell.
Yeah, Doom Eternal.
Doom Eternal! There we go. Next one on the list.
It's a good one.
It's a goodie. Number 13. I'm glad the community liked it a lot. It does seem like for a game that people were pretty hot on when it came out. I remember Giant Bomb wasn't crazy about it, but it seemed like the rest of the industry was really hot on it. And I feel like listening to a lot of end of the year discussions, it's not getting brought up as much as I expected. I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird. And I think part of it is just that the first Doom remake was just so refreshing in the way that it kind of changed up what the first person formula was at that time. It was so different, and while also being very retro as to what it was doing. And
yeah,
was like, this is amazing. I really like this. And then when it came to like, well, we're going to refine that even more and give you more challenge. It's like, okay, like the big thing about it was how refreshingly different it was, and now it's more of that, which I guess didn't capture as many people.
Welcome to the video game industry.
Community.
There we go. Next one is a game that a lot of people played, but nobody purchased. And it's not a free-to-play game. Riddle me this, Batman.
Piracy, the video game.
Nope. In fact, it's a game nobody purchased, everybody loved, and nobody even installed.
Now you're just making crap up, Hanson. That's impossible.
Come on.
A bunch of people bought it and played it, but didn't install it, is what you're saying.
They did not buy it.
The game from Reddit, the you just lost the game thing.
You just lost the game on Reddit. Do we see it? This is, of course, Astro's Playroom on the PlayStation 5. The bundled-in game. It's awesome. It just barely didn't make our 210s, but it's nice that the community loved it so much that they honored it here. Great call.
Do you think it ended up higher because we didn't put it on our list?
Are these spite votes? Is that the question?
Well, not spite, but it can lift your opinion of a game when you're making ranks like this, where it's like,
I don't know. We had a lot of people.
They didn't put it.
We had people.
It deserves recognition.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like even a week before our final debate went live that people started to do these. So not everything is colored based on us, but I really loved Astro's Playroom. Platforming is great. Music's great. Art's great, obviously. And just, I'm a big fan of, this is so dumb, but like non-fictional elements in games, kind of more autobiographical experiences in games. And it, in the same way that Beatles Rock Band, I think, is the greatest documentary game of all time, there's an argument to be made that Astro's Playroom is just the interactive history of PlayStation video game, which is such a cool little spot for that to be. Just to walk you through all the different unlocks. I mean, the fact that a game released in 2020 is celebrating PlayStation Home with like a little object you get, just every aspect of PlayStation's history is noted and celebrated in such a wonderful way. All right, now we're getting controversial. Number 12 on this list is a game that did not make our 210s. Anna, you were upset that it did not make our 210s. And not only did it not make our 210s, there was a long debate about whether or not it would even qualify for our 210s.
Yeah. Among Us.
There it is.
Yay! I'm pleasantly surprised by that. I I thought that it would get snubbed by both lists, so I'm very happy to see it there.
Yeah, I think the community played it a lot, with each other and found groups and stuff. And I'm glad that was a cool bonding experience for so many folks like throughout the year, and then specifically in the MinnMax Discord. That's great. Number 11, I think, is embarrassingly low for this list, and I will forever be outraged by the community. This is Yakuza Like a Dragon is number 11 according to the community. I adore this game, and this was my holiday break. Like, I spent a lot of time playing new tabletop games and just watching movies, relaxing in the house. But when it came to games, I lost my mind in a positive way finishing Yakuza Like a Dragon. Like, I guess it was Saturday specifically. I don't think I've had a gaming session like this in years and years and years. But I believe I played Yakuza Like a Dragon for 14 hours on Saturday to finish it up. And it was one of those where it's like, final boss it's just, there's a lot of health to go through, and it took so long. And then I died right when I had him down to the bare minimum and had to restart. So it was like, 3 a.m. by the time I finished Yakuza Like a Dragon, but could not have enjoyed that game more. Like, just having that grand finale for that experience was unbelievable. Do you all have that fond memories for just marathoning a game over break? Because it makes me think of 2005 when I went back after my first year in college for the Christmas break, and I marathoned through Final Fantasy 12, and it was just like late night sessions, early morning sessions. When was the last time one of you had one of those crazy marathons like that?
Oddly, the last time I took a day off of work for my birthday was when Metal Gear Solid 5 was coming out.
Oh, that's
and
right.
I played it for 26 hours straight.
Straight?
Awesome.
26 hours.
People have gotten world records for playing that long. You could have
gotten into Guinness for that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. Oh my God, I love that. But I'm happy to see it on this list. I hope more people check it out when it releases on PlayStation 5, and I believe March is when the PlayStation 5 version is out. But I started playing on PS4 and I finished it on PlayStation 5, and it's fine. Visually, there's definitely those situations where, especially going in first person and trying to read all the text and just looking at the textures and stuff in shops, there's some that are a little bit rougher to look at. But if you can't wait until March to play this game in PlayStation 5, if that's what you're waiting for, it's great to jump in now. It's on Steam. I cannot recommend it enough. As we talked about with the 210s in our debate, it's just so fun to have a throwback to JRPGs that almost feels like a parody of JRPGs at the same time. It is just the best tone I could hope for. So it feels like this incredibly funny parody of JRPGs while also having a story where I cared about the characters, I think ultimately more than any characters this year. I really, really loved Yakuza Like a Dragon. Anna,
then?
Oh, yeah. Hello.
Post spoilers for Suriel's what he wanted to fight for best moment. Do you think that would have had a chance now that you played it?
Great question. It was very fun to play through and be like, where is this moment that Suriel's talking about? And there's 2 that I thought could have been it. So without spoiling anything here, yeah, there is a sequence. It's oh boy, now I know what Suriel was going through. By and large, yes, the idea of he's saying, things coming back together and kind of tying back together in a fun way in Yakuza Like a Dragon. That was his favorite moment of the year, and he was annoyed that we couldn't spoil it. I'm very thankful that he didn't. I'm sorry it was frustrating for people to listen to. I don't think it would have won. Personally,
even though you like the characters better than The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah.
More than Final Fantasy.
Well, Final Fantasy VII is tough because that's just my crew that I've grown up with, so I can't, it's so tough to judge that one about individual characters. I think the moment in Last of Us 2 is a lot better, and it's much more self-contained within The Last of Us Part 2, if that makes sense. Whereas Yakuza, I think it's a little bit more, if you've appreciated the series, then it's this is incredibly cool. But no doubt, incredible, cool couple of moments towards the end of Yakuza Like a Dragon. And especially in a cutscene format, they go above and beyond in this level of just presenting how cool this moment is, and it's fantastic. But no, he would have been just crushed, Leo. There's no way Suriel could have won that argument.
I asked him what the moment was. I thought it was cool. I would have fought for him.
Oh, good. That's good. Number 10 on this list from the community. This is a remake. It's a remake that also didn't make our 210s, which was surprising based on... Nope. It's a game that I like Resident Evil 3 a lot, but I think it's a remake that we all liked collectively more than Resident Evil 3. It's kind of a remake of 2 games, I'd argue. Like if you added 2 together, as in a 1+2 situation.
Tony Hawk.
There we go. Tony Hawk is number 10 on the community list. Isn't that amazing?
Oh,
Wow.
and they did a good job with it.
Hey,
That feels like a good job Capcom kind of game.
yes.
It's like they gave us exactly the kind of thing that we wanted for it.
I think that also
didn't screw it up.
completely falls in line with Activision's take on Crash Bandicoot 4, where it's nostalgic, yes, but hey, good job giving people exactly what they wanted. They really did a great job. So good job. Next entry is a little bit in that Xenoblade Chronicles realm, where not a remaster, but an updated version that has more content. It's an RPG.
Persona 5 Royal.
There we go. Persona 5 Royal, number 9 for the community. I'm glad a lot of people played and enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Next one. This is a game that there is a passionate crowd out there that loves this a lot. Here's a hint. Ben Reeves from Game Informer gave it his number 1 spot for Game of the Year. It's a certain genre that people love, certain Metroidvania genre. People say this is one of the greatest.
Oh, Ori?
Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Correct. The community really loved that. That's fun to see. Next one. Controversial. Not on R210s. Not eligible for R210s.
Oh, Cyberpunk?
Cyberpunk 2077 is number 6 on this list. Is this 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is actually number 7 on this list. I love the community's playing it. Maybe it's just not because of the deepest dive. Maybe there's some aspect of that, of people in the community are kind of focusing on it more than the rest of the industry. Or do you think this is just a good representation of the quality of Cyberpunk 2077, that it is number 7 for the community's ranking?
It's impossible to say for sure. I mean, it's a no question. If it's working for you, it's a great game. It is just hard to tell until you're further away from it, really the impact it had on you.
Yeah, we're going through the deepest dive now. The next episode is airing next week, and it's going to be about the main path story for Act 2. So you can submit a comment if you support us on Patreon about your thoughts, and we'll read it on the air. But I guess we haven't covered it too much on this show. Jeff, how are you feeling about Cyberpunk 2077 right now?
I am still really enjoying everything that I've played so far, and I've put just an absurd number of hours into it at this point.
You said 75 at least?
It now says 80 hours, and so I'm a little skeptical of the timer on it and how well it's telling time. That feels like it could just be another bug. You had mentioned earlier, Hanson, because of various bugs going on. You hate that feeling of like, well, is this system working the way it's supposed to, or is there actually something wrong with it? And I'm starting to feel that way about that timer. But I have definitely put many hours into it and enjoyed almost all of everything. Like I certainly have my own criticisms with some of the story and things like that, and I've run into my fair share of bugs as well. But
and it's interesting that you're playing on Xbox, an Xbox One X, but you're not
One X.
One X, but you're not to the point of throwing the game out the window. No,
it's definitely. I think Leo said, like it's still launched better than Skyrim did, and I'm feeling like it has mostly still run better than Skyrim Special Edition, even at this point.
Really?
Yeah. Maybe the crashes maybe would bring it down below that, but in terms of, like in-game bugs that I'm running into, it hasn't been too bad.
Yeah.
And I know people have certainly had different, worse experiences, but it's been going really well.
But even after 80 hours, and Leo, you've put in a lot of time as well, and you're loving it still too, right, Leo?
Yeah, for sure.
Are you two considering it for your top 10s?
I'm not.
We'll see.
Oh, interesting. We'll see. All right. Next entry is the complete opposite of Cyberpunk 2077. This is a smaller game that we all appreciated for being smaller, but not so small that you couldn't dive into it, if you know what I mean.
Miles Morales.
You
Do
shouldn't
you like when we say it like we're eating our vegetables?
Yeah, you shouldn't be able to win a trivia competition by
We're
just
really
so
enjoying
little
this.
enthusiasm. Spider-Man Miles Morales. Yes, absolutely. Fantastic, wonderful game that we all
And that was
adore.
number what?
That was number 6. Number 5 is, it's got those good vibes that Spider-Man Miles Morales has. Probably the best vibes of the year.
5.
Yeah. Anna, when you think
Animal Crossing.
New Horizons, there we go. Number 5 on that list. Number 4 on the community list is a game that people loved. I'm surprised by how high it is on a lot of people's lists, a lot of outlets' lists. I expected, it's a good game, but I didn't expect this level of passion over it at the end of the year. It's a big game. It's somebody named Kyle Hilliard's number 1.
Ghost of Tsushima.
Ghost of Tsushima. That's it. Congratulations, Ghost of Tsushima. All right, number 3. A game that the community loved and half the internet hated.
Last of Us.
Last of Us Part 2.
That's every game.
Yep, there we go. Number 2, above The Last of Us Part 2, is another one of these stupid remakes.
Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Final Fantasy VII Remake. There it is. I had a tough time figuring out where this game was on my personal list and, how we should argue about it and debate it for MinnMax's 210s, just because it feels so, it's like, wow, it makes me so happy that it's tough for any game to top the emotional heights of that game this year. And at a certain point, I just had to sit back and reason with it and just realize, like, what are we doing here if not celebrating the game that is just a pure roller coaster of largely positive emotions? Like, that game evokes and wrings so much out of my soul. Like, I have to celebrate that impact on me this year for my personal list, at least. So I'm glad to see it for the community list up so high. Number 1 game,
Hades.
Here we go, Leo Vader. Hades takes it for the community's number 1 game. Well deserved. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Runners up. Didn't quite make the cut. Super Mario 3D All-Stars, Resident Evil 3, Call of Duty Warzone, Crash Bandicoot 4, and Kentucky Route Zero. I'm glad to see more people checking out Kentucky Route Zero after our list, though, where we put as number 2. I think that's really fun to see more folks checking that out overall. Top 10 lists. Leo, I'm so curious about yours. Do you want to run down your list?
I want to rattle it off.
Yeah, rattle and hum it, baby.
So our personal top 10s, the games didn't have to come out this year. They're games.
You can do whatever you want. Yeah.
Right. Well, on my list, I'll warn you, there are games that did not come out this year.
But okay,
before
Is it just Rainbow Six Siege 10 times in a row?
10 operators.
Is there a part of you that wants to keep it pure of like, because I would like rolling in games that came out other years, but I like being able to look at all these lists next to each other throughout the years and have it a clearly definable take on the year.
That's the thing. It depends. I like having the group top 10 for that. And for me, I like having, here was what that year in gaming was for me.
Right, right.
In which case, including previous years, it's like I'm being more honest about what my year in gaming was like.
Okay. Yeah. Walk us through it, dude.
Number 10, Lethal League Blaze.
What is that again?
Just made that up.
That is
one of the Steam games we played yesterday.
It's a sequel to Lethal League. It's the game where you're hitting a baseball back and forth in this like very jet grind radio dystopian future. It's all about timing. I can't believe you guys haven't heard of it. It's a truly phenomenal local competitive game. I got really into it for the first 3 months of the year before quarantine happened.
And when did it come out?
Wow.
2018, I think.
Okay. Oh, that's fun. And just your friends all got into it?
Yep. And then I was playing it on the bus on my way to Game Informer, just like playing through the story with every single character. It's a really incredible adrenaline feed. Just, you can guarantee you're going to boot it up and feel something.
All right.
Lethal League Blaze, really great game. Number 9, Ghost of Tsushima. Excellent. I'm playing with my girlfriend. We're switching off. We're having a grand old time. It's really pretty on our big old TV. Number 8 is Dear Reader. This is an Apple Arcade game I talked about earlier this year that turns these public domain classic works of literature into word puzzles that you can play in bed and feel good about. And it's like one of the only things I can do on my phone before bed that doesn't, wake my brain up too much.
Yeah.
Because it's like nice dark mode.
Leo, how many books do you feel like you now have basically quote unquote read?
According to the game, 10. According to me actually being able to tell you what the book was about, 4.
Okay. Fair enough. That's better than what I got out of high school, so.
Yeah, same. Big same. Number 7, Gears Tactics. Wonderful game. Mwah. Talked about it on our Game of the Year debates. Number 6, Until You Fall, a VR game that came out of early access this year. It's kind of rhythm-y, sword fighting roguelite. You're dodging, you're planning your abilities, you're getting upgrades throughout the run, you're blocking, you're striking. It's really great feeling, really great workout. I did it a lot this year just as like, I'm going to move my body for 30 minutes today by playing Until You Fall in VR. Number 5, another VR title, Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. Came out this year. VR survival-y game. Lots of crafting, really great combat, really tense situations of getting overrun and having to run for it, hurriedly reloading, the fun stuff that happens in VR. Played a lot of it, really love it. Number 4, Spiritfarer. Another great co-op game to play with my girlfriend. It's phenomenal. It's pretty. It's fun to play. It's smartly designed. Again, we talked about it last time. Number 3, Fuser.
Number 3.
Fuser. Maybe you've heard of. That's truly one of the games that I can like most reliably boot up and go, I'm going to have a good time playing this. I played more of it the other night. As new DLC comes out, they've been doing like DLC drops every week, and they updated the freestyle mode so you can do like longer bars and more rounds. So me and my friend could really fine tune it up, just like, let's go back and forth for three rounds. We also did it where it was like, okay, for this round, we're only going to do the instruments. We're not using any tracks. We're just making our own instrumental loops and building them off each other's and just making a completely original song.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nice.
It was a blast, and it sounded oddly good. Number 2, Half-Life Alyx.
Ooh,
Half-Life
shake up.
is back with this VR title. I loved it. I can't wait to replay it with director's commentary.
I believe during the 210s, you're like, that's my number 1.
Of the year.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Of the year of 2020.
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah.
Number 1, VR chat.
You monster.
Hell yeah.
People will say, oh, Leo, this is a tabletop simulator-esque pick.
Correct.
You can't pick all games for your number 1. I posit that if you had the experience I had this year with VR chat, it would unquestionably be your number 1 as well. Fair listener. It is going to a theme park with your friends. There's an unbelievable amount of like custom content in it. When you want to go to a new world, you literally spawn a portal and all your friends hop through it. And then you can play deception games. You can literally play the best version of Among Us in VR chat. I went to Virtual Market 5 a couple days ago, which was a virtual convention.
What?
Where you can go and buy avatars or real merch or just go like play games, or there's this place they're selling a Godzilla avatar and it's like, go through this elevator to see Godzilla, and you go through it and you're just standing on the top of the building watching this giant ass Godzilla terrorize this city. It's just this cool ass convention to go to. Weird. And there's a million things like that. We always try to have VR chat nights, get-togethers where we go on, light gun roller coasters, do like scary escape room maps together. It is the most fun I've had this year, no question.
That's amazing. And it's free?
It's completely free.
How are they making money?
They have VR Chat Plus now. For a while, they had just had like investors because it popped off so hard at the start. If you remember all those offensive memes that were out about it.
No.
But now they do have like a premium model that they're pushing. But you don't need it at all.
I love that, Leo. Backstage Pass is rioting. They're just so upset about your choices. But you know what? They love you no matter what. I love having you on these lists. Okay, let's get Suriel's list. Suriel's number 10, Amnesia Rebirth. Number 9, Half-Life Alyx. Number 8, Demon Souls. Number 7 for Suriel, If Found. 6, Doom Eternal. That's higher than I expected. Number 5, Destiny 2 Beyond Light. Number 4, that dastardly dog. Paper Mario: The Origami King, great game, no doubt about it. Number 3, Yakuza Like a Dragon. Number 2, Hades, and number 1, Kentucky Route Zero for Suriel Vazquez. Jeffem, do you want to run down yours?
Sure. Okay, my number 10 is a bit of a fudge.
Okay.
Because it knocked off Animal Crossing off of my list. Like I was really between the two. I wanted to get like one indie, darling onto that list.
Yeah.
But it meant knocking Animal Crossing, which I probably, if I'm being honest, I probably just had more time and enjoyment out of Animal Crossing. But I still knocked it off for Monster Train because it really grabbed me in terms of giving me that kind of collectible card game roguelike or deck building roguelike kind of game. And it did, I really liked Slay the Spire from a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And it's still I like this format and the way that they distilled that down into a much more potent and shorter experience so much. And I just saw that it came on, it's on Game Pass now on Xbox.
Oh, there we go.
I saw it was like, oh damn, I'm downloading that right now and can't wait to play more as soon as I'm done with Cyberpunk.
Sweet.
So that was number 10. Number 9, Yakuza Like a Dragon, which it would probably be higher if I was able to put more time into it.
Guaranteed.
But I can see what everyone likes about it. I've really enjoyed my time with it. I just need more time with it, and there just aren't enough hours.
Realistically, will you finish that game?
Don't you do that. I'm going to say realistically not, because I still feel like as soon as I unlock Mahjong in that game, I'm just going to play way too much Mahjong and I'm just going to stop progressing. I don't know what's wrong.
There's so many other games to play. You could get really into Virtua Fighter 2, Virtua Fighter 5.
I know.
So many options. All right. Well, I wish you would play it, but honestly, if I had to only choose one, I'd wish that you finished Red Dead Redemption 2 before Yakuza Like a Dragon. So I can only bug you about one thing at a time.
Maybe that one will show up later on the list.
Oh, keep going, dude.
It's not. Number 8, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which I put a little more time into it than Yakuza, and I probably liked it a little more just because it's more action and exploration focused. But yeah, that's another one that wasn't getting any higher just based on not having enough time to put into it. But I still feel sorry for that game that more people just didn't have the time and kind of lost interest in it for other games, because I still feel like it's one of the best, at least my personal favorite Assassin's Creed from the past couple of years.
Yeah.
And I feel like they've just steadily they have a new focus for that series, and they have been refining that down and getting it better and better. So,
absolutely.
Number 7 is Hades, which I still haven't beaten it.
Oof.
I've enjoyed it a lot. I've ended up with a lot more roguelikes than I thought on this list. And I think it just has some of the best combat of a roguelike, which is usually not the focus for those kind of games, and they just completely nailed that. I'm to the point where it's a little intimidating to go back, just because runs do seem to take longer, and I 75% of the time I die on that damn worm boss. But I totally understand why everyone liked it so much and why the MinnMax community made it number 1. Yeah,
I encourage you to keep going with that one. It feels like I was in that zone with you for a while, where it was around there, like the start of Elysium. Like that was always where I really was having a tough time with it, and then it just, the more you play it, the better and better you get. Obviously, it's also pushing you in that direction to get better and better by having more things to unlock. And once you get over that hurdle, it's such a sweet downhill slope from there.
Yeah, and it has been a really nice one where it's a much shorter kind of gameplay window that I can actually play it in. When I'm juggling the baby, so I have really appreciated it this year for that.
Yeah.
Number 6, Immortals: Phoenix Rising.
Wow.
Out of all of those kind of, B tier sounds insulting, but that kind of second tier of big open world games, just appreciate that it's a much more compact kind of Disney World-esque, like, here's a thing to go do, and 5 feet further, here's another thing. And I've liked, the focus more on puzzles, and I've liked the combat and stuff like that. And so it's certainly not it's probably not better than Assassin's Creed Valhalla or Yakuza or anything like that. But in terms of just getting me into the fun things that I want to do and keeping me focused on those things, I've really enjoyed it so far.
Yeah.
Number 5, Spelunky 2, which I've talked a lot about, but it is an absolute blessing to be able to kind of relearn the fundamental Spelunky kind of gameplay, which was what was so fun about the original, because there's not that kind of built-in progression that you get in a lot of roguelikes. This one is all just, you have learned how to survive in these procedurally generated worlds, and to be able to kind of reset your progress on that and be able to experience that again is super cool.
Yeah.
Number 4, Ghosts of Tsushima, which is in that higher tier of open world games, and just the theme and kind of being able to do kind of the ninja samurai thing in a Japanese world, in traditional Japanese culture and all of those kind of things is just super cool. And it's probably one of the gorgeous and kind of best running open world games this year.
Yeah, true.
And it's another one where I didn't manage to finish it, but it's way up there on, like, I can't wait to get back to this, because even more so than just the gameplay, I just want to be and spend time in this world, because it's so cool and beautiful.
Right.
Number 2, though, is Cyberpunk 2077.
Number 2.
Yeah, and I still haven't. We're still playing through it, but by New Year's Eve, I had put, I think, 65 hours into it, and I can easily make the determination that those 65 hours were some of my favorite hours playing video games this year. I think
good.
It is really just firing on all cylinders, and the depth has held up, where it's like all of these systems I'm getting more into, the weapons I'm finding, unlike most looter shooter kind of games, like the weapons continue to get more interesting and give me more options in combat and make the combat more fun and engaging. And this last segment that we've played, there's been more of the story stuff where I'm like, that is interesting, and these are the kind of characters that I had been waiting to see and spend more time with. And so that one is up there. But number 1 is still The Last of Us Part 2. I think that is just... I always want to believe that I am a gameplay first kind of gamer, and that's the most important thing. But typically when we do any kind of, like, these kind of rankings and stuff, it seems like the games that have the more impactful story and characters are the ones that always float up to the top of the list. And that is definitely another case. I totally agree that the pacing is off for sections, and that some sections are too long and stuff, but those characters and that story stick with me and manage to add a second chapter that I didn't want to begin with, because The Last of Us was one of my favorite games, and they managed to do things with those characters that, made me sad and things, but still felt like a good continuation of those stories and characters.
Yeah.
And that made it my number 1 for me for that reason.
There we go. Jeffrem's Hot 10. Love it. Kyle Hilliard, again, you can hear his thoughts on our YouTube channel. He's just done a video about it. But Kyle Hilliard's list is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, number 10. Then Final Fantasy VII Remake, Immortals Phoenix Rising, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Cyberpunk 2077. Number 5 is The Pathless. Number 4 is Astro's Playroom, which I am surprised to see that so high.
See, that feels like another bump of, like, we screwed it on that list.
Yep. I could see it. Number 3 is Half-Life Alyx. Number 2 is Last of Us Part 2. Number 1, Ghost of Tsushima for big old Kyle. Anna, do you want to run through your list quick?
Yeah, of course. I'm like muting and unmuting my mic right now because our tornado test sirens are running right now.
Hot list.
So here's the they're actually announcing my GOTY list. So start off number 10. So actually, I initially bounced off of this game, but after spending more time with it and actually watching my boyfriend play it a lot and passing the controller back and forth, I formed a lot of fond memories over this game. Is Fall Guys. Just like I still haven't won a match, but I'm looking forward to the sweet, sweet feeling of someday clutching that crown. There's a lot of joy from that game this year. Number 9 is Animal Crossing New Horizons. I put a lot of time into this game. I love Animal Crossing. I think it got knocked down a little bit just because I actually enjoyed a lot of like the more narrative-driven video games this year. But you know, it's now technically a quarantine classic. So that's my number 9. At 8, I have Yakuza Like a Dragon. I think I'm similar to Jeff in this regard, that I think if I spent more time with it, it would be higher up. But just like a great game, like I really appreciated having just kind of like a lounging game, just really taking in the story, actually being able to lay on the couch and play a game is just like sometimes a lovely experience. And it was my introduction to the Yakuza franchise, and I think that'll definitely be finishing this game and then, you know, jumping in and getting to know some of the other stories more. So that's coming in at 8, and also very Earthbound-esque, kind of like quirky. Like it's so funny, like Ben, when you're talking about it, like how much you liked it because it's, you know, has all these video game references. It's weird to think that like a video game would be made for video game fans, because like obviously it's like a video game, right?
Yeah,
but it's like such a novel idea that I feel like people don't do as much. Like it's self-referential.
Yeah, especially from that level of production. Maybe indie games will reference other games, but for you're right. Yeah. That's such a fun.
Yeah, like What the Golf does that really well.
Right. Right.
But we haven't seen that in like a big title, so I also really appreciated that.
Yeah, it's nice that, you know, Sega is not scared of getting sued by Square Enix, which is just a blessing for everybody.
Yeah. We love a conversation and collaboration between our large corporations in the video game industry. Coming in at number 7 is was my introduction to this entire franchise as far as video games go. Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Oh, yeah.
Really loved that game. Really appreciated the characters and the stories, and was just even thinking through, was talking to my friend the other day, just being like, it's just really great to play a game and see a character sort of have shout lines in both Spanish and English, and sort of see, you know, new kinds of stories be told, and also see, you know, like just have such tight gameplay. That was my first time playing a Spider-Man game, and so I was like, the combat is so fun. It's so good, and you know, that was my experience with it. So I will think fondly of Miles Morales.
Yeah.
At number 6 is Hades. Similarly, really enjoyed the combat, sort of echoing a lot of what has been said already. Do still want to spend more time with it. I flipped on like the hero mode that makes it easier, and I think I will get a lot more out of it now. I was sort of grinding along. I am not very good at roguelites, and so I think that sort of prevented me from, well, even that being said, I still felt like I was progressing some sort of story. So I think that, you know, that's pretty innovative. I, you know, tried to play Dead Cells, and that I didn't feel like I got anywhere because I just wasn't good enough. So it's cool to see that Hades is really sort of like taking the strengths of roguelites and making a fun experience for everyone. At 5, this actually surprised me. I played this last week after the GOTY discussions because I finally had time, is If Found.
Oh, good. I'm glad you played it.
Yeah, I'm glad that got onto our top 10. You know, it's just such a touching story, and I played it by touching the screen, which I thought was a good way to play it, by touching the Switch screen. And I just thought that it was sort of, without spoiling anything, like a really sort of important, and it had something new to sort of offer, like sort of queer narratives, because a lot of like LGBT stories are focused on found family, And this game is no different from that, but I think it sort of, offers like a really complicated, nuanced way of saying like, okay, well, your real family is still always there, and sort of really grapples with that in like a way that I thought was really important and just like really touching. And I absolutely sobbed playing that game.
Yeah, and I think it's easy for maybe people listening or watching this to be like, okay, some visual novel, trans narrative. I think I imagine what that's like, but it's so much more interesting than you would imagine. It's so much less, I think that alone is worth checking out. But I think there's a lot of people that be like, that sounds dry. But like it's the presentation is awesome, and it culminates, I think, in a really interesting way that you probably wouldn't expect.
Yeah, and I think too, like, I mean, it's really great to be able to, I'm always thinking about how do I talk to non-video games people about video games. And it's really cool to be able to, talk to my friend who doesn't play games and be like, yeah, I'm playing a game that takes place in mid-2000s rural Ireland. It's like a very Catholic town, and it's about, a trans woman sort of navigating the historical context, like gay marriage has just been legalized. So it's like very grounded. Like it feels like I'm talking about a movie. And so it's, it's kind of like one of those very, I guess, like film-esque games. And so really appreciated it. Coming in at number 3 is Final Fantasy VII Remake. I honestly, the brain rot for this game is so strong with me. I considered putting it at 1, but in the end, I feel like I couldn't put it at 1 just because of like some like issues with Barrett and also like the depiction of women in that game. And so I was like, I don't think that it's my favorite, but like this has just thrown me completely headfirst like into this world and the characters. Like I feel like I'm a fangirl of Final Fantasy VII,
which you probably have gone your entire life being like, yeah, Final Fantasy VII, that old thing I should check out at some point. And I love that this remake can still have that impact on you. Be like, oh no, I'm very into the story now.
Yeah, well, and like it's so funny because I remember, I think that the port of the original to the Switch was announced while I was at Polygon, and I remember it being announced and just like thinking, oh yeah, like I should definitely be playing, like I should play that as sort of just like general, canon, being familiar with, my work and whatnot, and never got around to it. But then, there's the remake. So then was finally able to play that. And now I'm considering playing, it's genuinely making me consider playing the original Final Fantasy VII. And so that gave a huge influence.
Yeah, let's talk about this. I think you should.
You think I should?
I think it's going to be so many years before the next chapter comes out that... Don't
say that. I can't. My heart cannot handle that.
I mean, absolutely. So I think even if you manage to get through the entire thing, which would be awesome, I think it'll still feel somewhat fresh by the time you're playing through those sections in the remake. And I think even if you just get it on Switch and just spend with this version where you can speed through combat and stuff, realistically 7 hours or so in Midgar, I think it would be so fascinating for you to see. And I'm very partial to it, obviously, but we did a game club back at Game Informer and like playing through it then, and even we did a stream where we played through it again. It's not annoying to go back and play. It is a pretty smooth old RPG at this point to go back to, I think.
Okay, but here's my concern.
Yeah.
This is like the most like overthinking. Is it going, if I play the original Final Fantasy VII game, is it going to spoil like the part 2 or whatever? Because that's which I mean it will. But like that's what I'm nervous is like, do I want to experience that story in the new gen for the first time? Is something that I've been asking myself.
Yeah, it's tough. I think you play it, get through Midgar, see how you're feeling about it. You might be like, well, that was the interesting experience that I wanted, and I feel like I kind of get what the original 7 is like. Just do that. Mm-hmm. And if you're like, I need to know where the story goes, then keep playing because, without spoiling too many things about the remake, we don't know exactly how faithful it's going to be moving forward. There's conflicting thoughts and theories and messaging on that front. So it's going to be different no matter what, just inherently being the remake. So I think it's still worth, if you're really passionate about, to keep playing. But you had a crazy message to me where you said you wanted to play Crisis Core.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I am also this close to getting a used PSP and picking up Crisis Core, mainly because I'm interested in Zach's character. I'm interested in seeing Sephiroth as like a normal person.
Yeah.
I've heard that some of the gameplay can get a little tedious in that, but I am kind of like curious to have this world built out. I also don't want to like have my heart completely destroyed though, and I have a feeling that game would just wreck me. And so
here's what I'd recommend. Crisis Core is cool. I didn't finish it on PSP. I started it maybe multiple times and I liked it, but it wasn't until just last year that I watched a YouTube cut of all like the story for Crisis Core, which was long. I don't know, maybe it's like a 3 or 4 hour YouTube cut, but it was a great way to absorb that game without having to, break open a PSP. Unless Square would freaking remaster that already. But here's the thing. You worry about spoilers for Final Fantasy VII. Like at this point, where they are in the remake, I don't think you should play Crisis Core. I think you should save that that's going to be the perfect companion piece for, probably at the end of the next remake chunk. Then it's going to be like, oh my God, this is the perfect time to really absorb Crisis Core. Okay.
So I'm going to go back to the original Final Fantasy VII on my Switch and then watch a YouTube cut of all the Crisis Core.
No. Save that.
Save that
if you play through
the next remake,
unless you play through the original Final Fantasy VII. Otherwise, Although I guess doing it out of
go
order
ahead
would
and
be
say
weird.
I think TikTok has spoiled Crisis Core for me already.
Okay, probably. That's a classic
I
phrase.
think most of my life, most of these plot lines have kind of been spoiled for me, but I'm still very interested, like in the world and the characters.
At that point, just play the original full game then, and then go back to Crisis Core.
Okay, I'm gonna do it.
Okay, please do. Keep us up.
I'm gonna do it. Probably like starting today. So yeah, that's my number 3 is Final Fantasy VII Remake. I was really happy to see it number 1 on our list. Because I did enjoy this game, and you were talking about what game have you just like marathon? I marathoned 7 like towards like end of GOTY discussions, beginning of break, and it's just an incredible. It's just such a freaking fun game. So
yeah,
we've said enough about I don't think I need to say any more about that game.
Yeah, but what if you did? Without spoiling anything, the ending, give me a thumbs up, yay or nay. Where were you at?
Okay, I'm thumbs up on the ending.
Okay.
Because here's the thing is I did not mind the unexplained shit that was happening.
Sure.
Like, to me, I have... it kind of actually reminded me a bit of some of the responses to the TV series Watchmen, because there's stuff that just like goes unexplained. And you see characters and you don't see them again, or like you don't really know what's happening. And I think for me, like I've watched enough anime where there's just like random plot points that just are lost to the universe. Or just like characters, like I'm watching a show right now. There's like a random panda, like it talks. It's fine. We accept that. And so I feel like that was my approach to the ending of Final Fantasy VII. I'm like, I don't care that this dog is here. Like, of course there's a dog here. Like, there's tons of crazy stuff going on.
I don't think people were upset about the dog at the ending, but I know what you mean. There's a lot thrown at you. Yeah.
Okay, here's the last thing I'll say about the end, though, is I feel like the game gives you, like, enough hints that you're like, okay, this is sort of like what's happening. Like I didn't read anything after the fact, and I'm like, okay, we got like I don't want to spoil.
Please don't.
But we have
you don't need to say
you can like
anything.
make enough sense of it, in my opinion, of the ending. But I can understand if you're expecting the full remake of the full 7 game, which I was not, how that could be frustrating.
Yes. Okay, but anyway, sorry, you're number 2. I cut you off again.
Oh, no worries. I could talk about that game forever. So my number 2 is Kentucky Road Zero. I felt like this game emotionally moved me in a way that like a video game hasn't for a long time. And I feel like for me, when I'm sort of like assessing my top 10 list, it's like, okay, not just like what did I enjoy or what's representative of the time I played, but like what helped me grow and think as a person, and what sort of like prompted me to reflect on things. And I really appreciated Kentucky Road Zero. And I, for all of those things, because like not only like Suri already touched on this, I feel like he did a really good job of articulating what makes this game so special in our GOTY discussions. but I have also gone back to it in the meantime and like really appreciated, just like how you can pick up on different sort of aspects of the world, different themes. And it kind of creates this like feeling of bigness and openness and like narratively that I haven't really experienced before. And so that's my number 2. And as for my number 1, it felt weird to put a 1. This is my like first like very public list. It felt weird to put a 1 because I like all these games. I love all these games. Sorry, that was a quick transition, but I want to keep it going. Is Persona 5 Royal. It's like my pandemic game. And this year for me has been, like the pandemic. And like, even though for me, what I needed this year in a very real sense was like a freaking 200-hour long game with really complicated, relationship dynamics, like story, arcs, like, I really loved like going on dates and getting a day job and then catching monsters like Pokemon. Like it's, that's nothing new to the Persona series. But just sort of, it just sort of hit all the right notes for me.
Yeah.
While I was in quarantine. And so that is my number 1.
Love it. Good list. Jeff, do you approve of that list? Please?
I do.
Oh, thank God. Thank God.
And we actually, there was more kind of overlap between us than I thought, and kind of the games that we both had on our lists kind of ended up falling in very similar positions.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Which also brought up, I think I may have skipped my number 3. My number 3 was Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I don't think I mentioned that. I don't know how I managed to fly right over that one, but it was also my first time playing through the game, and it lived up to kind of the experience that I've listened to people talk about for 20 years, and it was really kind of magical being able to experience that enthusiasm and be right in the moment with that. Because if I play Final Fantasy VII now, I'm 20 years late to the conversations that everyone went through, but being able to play that with you and your friends was super cool to be able to experience that kind of as the first time.
Yeah, if I would describe me and my old friends from middle school ranting and raving about Final Fantasy VII, the first word I'd use is cool. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, I didn't say you guys were cool,
I understand.
But the experience of nerding out at the same time.
I see. Cool. My list. I'm trying to be a stickler about releasing in 2020. I like being a stickler for these lists. But huge honorable mention to a game that realistically, if I was putting it in this list, is in the top 4, and that's a Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo. Now one of my favorite competitive games of all time. I spent so much time playing this game in an arcade cabinet, competing with my girlfriend, basically because of the quarantine. It was just like the two of us playing this arcade game, drinking beer basically the entire summer. But that game has so many fantastic big swings. If you like competitive puzzle games, and for some reason you've never checked out Puzzle Fighter, please check it out. You can get the remake of it if you have an Xbox. They have the 360 version for sale, and the UI is kind of crap and the multiplayer is kind of frustrating, but it'll give you the idea. So please, hey everybody, Puzzle Fighter is good. Celebrate it. My number 10 is Spiritfarer. Also with Leo, I'd strongly recommend co-op for that one, but a fantastic experience. Number 9, Astro's Playroom for the celebration of PlayStation's history. Number 8 is a bit of a companion piece with Puzzle Fighter, but this technically counts. Panel de Pon. Panel de Pon, which is the first time this game has been released outside of Japan. This game is otherwise known as Tetris Attack or Pokemon Puzzle League on N64. It's that same style thing. We're just flipping the two horizontal panels to match them. But it released on the Nintendo Switch this year in the Super Nintendo Online thing. So if you go in there, there is a completely Japanese version of Panel de Pon. And if you like puzzle games, especially competitive puzzle games, another fantastic experience to just compete on the same screen with somebody else for. Above that, let's see, 10, 9, 8, 7 is, of course, Jackbox Party Pack 7. Special shout out to Talking Points. Number 6 is Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. Number 5 is Hades. Number 4, Animal Crossing New Horizons. Number 3, Last of Us Part 2, which at some point was higher. Number 2, Yakuza Like a Dragon. Really snuck up there, I'd argue, like a dragon, clawing its way as I spent more and more time with that game. Absolutely adore it. It is one of those games that once you finish, it's like, that is a saga. Like, that story goes places, and it's intertwined, and it's complicated, but not in a bad way, but just twists and turns. It just feels like such a rich journey through that experience. And the writing is so good. It makes me angry at every other JRPG I've ever played. I was like, why are you guys even trying? Look at this. It's so incredibly well done. Also, I was thinking more about Ichiban, like the main character. And I love the idea that they basically reboot the Yakuza series, new protagonist, now it's an RPG. And the fact that they reboot it, get a new protagonist, and that he's just another guy in like his 40s. Like, they don't go for like the hot young hunk. He's just this schlubby weirdo in his 40s. I just love that character so much. He's just a guy in his 40s who falls asleep while watching movies in a movie theater. That's Ichiban, everybody.
Aren't we all?
It's true. He's a good guy, but he's not perfect. He makes mistakes. He's got everything. He's just the best. So Yakuza Like a Dragon, could not have enjoyed it more. As an RPG, despite saying I could not have enjoyed it more, it is a lumpy, uneven RPG. And I kind of learned to love it for that, but there's definitely just weird stuff in there. Like a battle, okay, you complete this one part-time hero quest, and I got like 400,000 experience, which is like 400 times more than any other battle I received in that game. And it's just like these weird pops and kind of, difficulty spikes. Everything's just uneven and weird. You eventually come across like a training battle arena that just annihilates any ounce of progression in that game, just because it's like, oh, here's just a bunch of free experience and free money. I don't know, have it at the end. We don't know. It's just so weird and uneven as an RPG, but I still love it. So Yakuza Like a Dragon is my number 2, and number 1, Final Fantasy VII Remake. I can't argue with the emotions that game pulled out of me. Just an incredible experience this year.
It would have been a baller move to not include it after your pitch.
You fought for it as number 1.
Psych!
Also, I realized I also skipped one. I skipped my number 4.
What is happening? What is that?
See, our lists really are.
Yeah, no, I think Jeff and I are on the same wavelength here. Can I?
Yes, what was it?
It's Among Us.
Oh, that's right.
My 4.
Okay.
Yeah, which I made the case for in the Goaties, It's just a great multiplayer game that, blew up at the right time, I think.
Yeah. So. Leo, did you also forget to mention Final Fantasy VII in yours?
I did. That was number 0.
That was number 0. Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, wow.
Thank you so much to everybody that submitted your entries for the top 10 list in the MinnMax Discord. It was fun to read off all those. And thanks to all the developers in 2020 for getting these games out the door. Remarkable that they accomplished as much as they did. Hey, Leo, I've been to ask you, how does this whole thing operate?
You ask me this every week, man.
I just like it.
It's patrons. It's our kind patrons.
The kind patrons have done it all. Yeah, if you go to patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's, support us at any tier, you get access to the wonderful Discord, which is the Shangri-La on the internet. It's a wonderful place to meet folks, find new folks to play games with, have fun discussions about games. It's wonderful in there, so you can check that out. Also, you can submit comments for us to read on this show for the Deepest Dive, unlike the podcast version of the Deepest Dive. Bunch of other stuff. We appreciate all your support, and we appreciate the bigger supporters as well. We're at the start of a new month, so next month we're going to be introducing some new folks, and this month we're saying goodbye to these supporters, but there are tiers open if you want us to plug your passion project on the podcast, or if you want to put any image you want on every MinnMax video at the Wall of Heroes. There's a bunch of fun options there. So surprise us with an image, please. Anna, do you have something you'd like to share?
Yeah, I do have something I'd like to share. So Ben, Jeff, Leo, do you like puzzle games? Because I sure do.
Yeah.
You should check out Opposwitch, which is now available on Xbox. Opposwitch features over 90 handcrafted levels and a randomizer for never-ending puzzles inspired by the classic games such as Lights Out and Hexic. It's a logic game that's fun for the entire family. And get this, Opposwitch was developed by Rich McLaughlin, McLaughlin, a longtime supporter of MinnMax. You can drop in on the Discord and ask him how he made it, or you could just talk to him about indie game development in general, or just thank him for supporting the show. The best part is that it's only $5, and so you can unwrap some fun this holiday season with Opposwitch. The holidays have ended, but if you missed a gift for someone and you're like, hey, I missed a gift, I'm really in a bind right now, like it's, you know, Christmas is past and like the mail is all clogged up and I just need to get something to someone ASAP, consider sending them a copy of Opposwitch.
Yeah, it's our last time plugging Opposwitch, but congratulations to Rich McLaughlin for finishing a game, releasing it on Xbox. It's awesome. Yeah. So congratulations.
Yeah, awesome.
And he's in the Backstage Pass chat right now.
Hey, Rich!
Hey, Rich.
You can give me a review of how my ad read was. I'm working on it.
He says he'd pay more than $5 for that ad read. That's amazing.
Wow. I have a little plug to do here real quick as well.
Yes, sir.
Check out This Week in Video Games for your regular fix on the latest reviews, features, and interviews from the world of gaming. Whether you're into next-gen platforms, indie gems, or interviews with industry experts, This Week in Video Games has you covered. This Week in Video Games also specializes in Destiny 2 content. I told you our community was into it. Covering everything from the latest goings-on in Beyond Light to useful guides for exotic weapons and also builds too. If you want to level up your Guardian and get a hold of all the best weapons, armor, and mods the game has to offer, then search This Week in Video Games on YouTube and subscribe for daily Destiny updates. So if you want your gaming content with a British twist, if you're listening to this and wishing we all had British accents, search out This Week in Video Games on YouTube or on your favorite podcast apps.
Hey, Leo, you know what that ad made me think of?
What?
Made me think of prettygoodprinting.com. prettygoodprinting.com/MinnMax is a place to go, a landing page where you can get stickers, invitations, banners, graphic design. They have stickers available, like Anna's Anime Boys.
No, wait.
Yep. It's filled with, I think, anime references that I don't understand.
Wait.
You can check it out. There's all your favorite anime boys are here.
Incredible act of kindness.
There's a lot going on. They also have Pokemon stickers that he designed, Star Wars stickers. Please don't tell Disney. But check out Pretty Good Printing. It's a one-man operation, and he's been a big supporter of MinnMax here. And you can use the promo code MinnMax with 2 N's for 10% off everything in the store. So you can check out the store or give them a follow on Instagram to see more of their stuff at Pretty Good Printing. And he says, it would mean the world to me and my family if you considered using us for anything you might need. Isn't that sweet?
Yeah,
and also, he gave us extra sticker packs for sticker giveaways. So for this week on the podcast, how about the runner-up to question of the week will get a prettygoodprinting.com sticker pack. Could be on his Anime Boys. And he also proudly made a bunch of stickers for the Deepest Dive that, as you can see, it's a little version of Leo's mug there. So
that's amazing, with a little diving board on it.
Yeah,
that's so great.
If you want the world's smallest version of Leo's mug, then you can check that out, please. Hey, also thanks to I'm8bit. They want everybody to know that in the I'm8bit wonderful online store, you can get the Persona 5 4-vinyl set, the Essential Edition soundtrack for Persona 5. Notice that last week we said Persona 5 Royal. They have sold out of those because they flew off the presses, off the shelves, but you can still get the fantastic 4-album set of the Persona 5 full soundtrack. It looks incredible. Please check that out. Remember, you can use the promo code MAXNEWYEAR for 10% off everything under $100 in the I'm8bit store. So check out their store. They've been a huge supporter of us, and use the promo code MAXNEWYEAR for 10% off. And they are so generous, they are going to give something out to the MinnMax community. So we're going to choose our absolute favorite question of the week, and then I'm8bit will ship them out a double album for Smash Hit and Pinout. It's a double vinyl. So please look forward to that. Also, believe it or not, it looks incredible. Leo, you look like you're contemplating something richly.
Am I? I don't mean to. I'm just petting my cat, and I was doing my he was a good boy face, forgetting I was doing a podcast right now.
I thought you were talking about I'm8bit being a good boy.
That's what put me in the mindset for it.
Hey, community questions are back, everybody. Ben Spathare, he asks, which remake is most likely to be MinnMax's 2021 Game of the Year? You dirty dog, man. It was right after we finished recording that discussion. Then Suriel, I think, was like, oh crap, we gave it to a remake 2 years in a row because we gave it to Resident Evil 2 remake the first year and then Final Fantasy 7 remake. Guaranteed, we are not doing a remake in 2021. They're probably, I think they're out of games to remake. I don't think they're even coming out in 2021.
They can remake the remakes.
Ooh, that's a good point. Doreen Claire writes in and says, some folks in the MinnMax channel were talking about the friendly hostility between y'all in the Game of the Year talks for 2020. What are ways you think the GOTY talks can be improved for 2021? I enjoyed it, but there were definitely moments where I could understand why people got uncomfortable with the debate. I love the show as always. Jeff, you probably got the most frustrated.
Maybe, and I apologize for that, but if they could see the debates at Game Informer, they would know that this was like everyone holding hands and dancing and singing together.
I don't know. I feel like we've been saying that a lot, and now like people are asking about like, tell us how terribly violent were the arguments at Game Informer. It wasn't. It was like that, but just a little more intense at times. Jeff is smiling a little bit.
We had casualties.
There were casualties. Yeah. Did somebody have thoughts on how the debate went for the 210s? Things you'd like to change next year? Anything like that?
The comment I read that I agreed with the most, I think, was just certain times in the debates. It was a little like standoffs without either party going more into detail about why they believed in the side that they believed in.
Because of fear of spoilers, or?
Oh, not necessarily that. I just like in times where it's like just arguing based on I won't let this not be on the list versus here's why I really believe it should be on the list.
Right.
I think that kind of thing would make for a more positive discussion overall when it's focusing on like, here's why I love this, not like playing the rules of the debate the whole time, you know?
Yeah. It'd be fun to have a procedure to sort of get through deadlocks, like something maybe goofy in game like itself. Like, because I mean, this was my first time doing like full deliberations, right? And it definitely felt like at points where it's like we felt very stuck, you know?
Yeah.
And what was uncomfortable to me was not like any disagreement. It was that it felt like we weren't making any movement, so to speak, on like actual game.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like the most feedback we got, which believe it or not, people had a lot of feedback on lists, but a lot of people were coming up with like, oh, you guys should gamify it more. Like everybody gets one ad and everybody gets one block and there's a point system and rules. And I like it, but at the same time, it's like, it just feels complicated. It's like we ended up with a list and it just took some debating, but trying to put more numbers on it or more of a system to it, I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, and if you gamify it, there's always the possibility for exploits, right? Like syncing one game, like intentionally not giving points to one game so that, you know.
Like, yeah, if it was like everybody gets one block and then it's like the game you like the least, you could just not have on that list. Then
yeah,
it's like, I don't know, probably would have blocked Kentucky Route Zero, which would have sucked, you know, like we should have that. So,
yeah,
but I don't know. I hear you, Leo.
Sorry.
I was trying to say I hear you, but I was talking over you while I was saying that.
It's like we could do a thing where we have our top 10s and we cross-reference them and each number's worth points or whatever. But I think the way we do it now has a dual purpose of reflecting on the year in games in total and everything that mattered to us. Even if it doesn't have a chance of getting on the list, it still gets addressed. And if we do it that way, it's like, do we even need to have a podcast for it? We could just submit our lists of 10 or 20 games and crunch the numbers and it's done.
Yeah.
And I think that's just, honestly, I guess if it's too intense for people to the point where it's not fun to listen to, that's definitely a problem that should be addressed. But for me, it's like, it's fun. I look forward to it every single year is the end of year debates. For that reason, it's like wrap up the year, fight for these games you loved.
Fight for what's right. Yeah, I agree. And yeah, to your point about making specific arguments for these games instead of just in general, I feel this way, Leo. I think next year for sure, we should get better about allowing spoilers in the discussions for like best moments and best characters. And I know that sucks for us that some things are going to get spoiled, but I think it's a greater good situation just for the sake of the listeners and viewers. It's like, oh, too bad.
It doesn't suck that much. It's 5 minutes of a 80-hour game, you know?
Right. But so we will spoil things next year, but we will have timestamps. So it'll be like, okay, we're going to spoil things for a certain amount of time, but it's only for this set period of time, which we tried to do a little bit of this year, but it just kept coming back up about like, people kept talking about The Last of Us Part 2, you know, after the discussion period of Last of Us Part 2, we were trying to finalize things, which is understandable, but that's just, I think we just need to keep the spoiler stuff fully corralled no matter what.
And it really seemed like moments was the biggest issue for that,
Yes.
right? Like we can just say, here's the moment section. Don't listen to it unless you played all these games.
Yes, exactly.
Or don't care.
Taylor C writes in and says, we're recording those epic sessions for Game of the Year debates takes a lot of dedication, focus, and patience. You have to be on for long periods of time. It's not as simple as having a discussion, as format and pace need to be considered. It can be exhausting. How do you feel after longer podcasting / streaming / recording sessions, and what do you do to quote unquote come down? Are you just wiped out and instantly collapse? I think you're making it seem like we're running a marathon here. It's just talking about games and sitting in a chair, I think.
Yeah, and it is mostly just a conversation. I don't think we're all sitting here like, ooh, what about the pacing and how are we going to handle this?
Yeah, I like that it kind of throws that stuff out the window. Maybe some people are annoyed by it, but I like kind of the downbeats and how it doesn't feel like a normal podcast. Kind of my metronome slows down for the sake of the process of trying to weed through all that stuff. But Leo, do you have a tough time coming down after a long recording, or maybe just recording in general?
I wouldn't describe it as a tough time. Lots of times when it's something I feel like went well, I feel, energized afterwards.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, that was great. And
yeah.
then I go eat and watch TV. That's my routine.
Yeah, I was going to say I haven't been able to do long stretches, and those couple episodes were the first time I've been able to actually get like a 3-hour chunk in again. But after those, I felt more energized than anything by them.
Yeah.
It was kind of a little wired, but that wears out pretty quickly when you have a kid. So
yeah, I think they're so much easier than the deepest dives, which are like the maybe most draining thing, just reading all those comments, trying to sort through where's the conversation going.
Everything's harder for you, Hanson.
Yeah.
It's easy for us.
Yeah, but even like the deepest dive, I mean, some of that Final Fantasy VII stuff, was it like 4.5 hour discussions? Like that, I don't think I was like exhausted at the end of that, but it was definitely, I was ready to stop reading comments because it's a lot of trying to maintain where the conversation's going and trying to remember which comment to bring up next and all that stuff.
Yeah.
The hardest thing about those was my butt would be numb because I was still sitting on the floor when we were recording those.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm glad I got a chair now, at least.
You're a maniac. Anna,
I feel like,
oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, I might be like a little different from everyone. I don't know if I'm being too honest. I think it's like maybe because like I'm, new and the only woman. I sometimes I feel tired after like long sessions, or I don't feel tired. Like similarly, like I do get really excited, to do it and, afterwards. But then sometimes like if I have too much energy afterwards, I'll like overthink everything. And I'll be like, wait, did I like my, I'll like be laying in bed and then like thinking about everything that I said. So sometimes I go for like a walk outside after recording. That helps a lot.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a privilege or a curse, but I have those moments as well. But it's as I'm editing the episodes, and so it's like, is this in my mind? I'll write down a note like, well, I got to trim this out. Then I'll go back and watch it while editing. I'm like, that's totally fine. What am I talking about? Like,
think about hopping on Slack and messaging you and being like, hey, maybe cut this out. Yeah.
Like trim out all the Among Us discussion?
Yeah, just trim out any part where I'm talking.
Okay, cool, yeah. Let's see. Oh, Sincerely Eric writes in and says, this year, I want to tackle one of the most challenging things anyone can do, beat Persona 5 Royal. What are some of everyone's tips for making it through long games and seeing them through to the end?
Can't help anyone on that front. If anyone can help me, that'd be great.
Yeah, Jeffem, you're the opposite of the master. Do you have any things that you do that they can do the opposite of?
Yeah, I can tell you, have it be a deepest dive game so that you're obligated to finish it. Because that's the only way I get through them either.
Yeah, it's tough. I'm not great at finishing long games, but every once in a while it'll just be a mission. And like starting Yakuza and loving it so much out of the gate, it just became like, I will not be able to frickin' live with myself unless I finish this game. And at least it just in my mind, it's like, I need to finish one Yakuza game. So let's lock in and do this.
Yeah. I mean, for me, actually, the obligation motivates me less because then it starts to feel like a chore. Mm-hmm. What really gets me through long games is like actually just like poking around in the fandom and like reading writing on the game. And like, you know, like if I'm 40 hours into Yakuza and I'm feeling like, like maybe I'll go and read a couple essays on it, see what people appreciate on it, see people's responses. Like that helps, you know, it helps my brain develop interest in it in like a different way other than just like sitting down and just like, you know, banging it out. So
yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. That's a fun idea. Also, pro tip on the butt numbing thing, like, you know, my couch where I play games is okay. It's not the most comfortable, but I like for certain gaming marathons, you just surpass body position. Like for certain gaming sessions, you know, I care a lot about, am I laying down? Am I at this angle? Do I have a pillow here? And then I like at a certain point, it's like, no, this is my duty today is to play this game. And by the end of that, I didn't even care what my butt felt like for once in my life, you know? Anyways, Geo Bangany writes in and says, ahoy, MinnMax, how were your breaks? Did you get any fun new toys? Any gifts that you feel especially proud of giving?
I got a squatty potty for the house. Life changer.
Like are the little things that you put under your feet to put your legs up?
Yeah, they had a nice like bamboo one, so it's more aesthetically pleasing than I thought might be available. But I mean, people have heard the evangelists for this forever, but it's true.
I don't know.
You will see every previous number 2 you've taken in your life as a horrible waste of time and effort.
So you're saying this makes number 2 number 1 in your mind?
That's exactly right.
Oh my God. Wait, it's something for your feet?
Yeah, it puts your feet up so you're squatting more on the toilet. And it changes the shape of your bowels.
Okay. This is a family-friendly show.
We're adults. We've done it for years.
The kids have done it too.
I guess that's true.
It streamlines the experience, let's say.
See, Anna, what you're saying is this philosophical statement of everybody poops?
Yeah. Yeah, you heard it here first, everyone.
That's good, Leo. Any other good gifts?
One gift this year, and it was a waffle iron, a Belgian waffle iron. So I've been making and eating way too many waffles since then.
See, this feels like one of those gifts that's like, waffle iron, I guess that's fine. But in terms of a gift that will change your mood throughout the day and just that will have ramifications for a long time, like inserting 800% more waffles into somebody's life is a real impact that does a lot of good.
I've been eating them just for snacks in the evening. It's like, fuck it, I want a waffle right now. They're so good that you don't even need to put syrup on them.
What?
Like the mix that we have. The person, it was my wife's friend who gave it to me. She was very considerate because she gave me the waffle iron and she gave me the mix for it as well. 2 different kinds of mixes.
That's
and a
awesome.
jar of honey and a jar of maple syrup. So it was the entire package.
Oh, that's amazing.
And one of those mixes is so good, it's just sweet enough that you can eat it, and it's almost like eating a funnel cake, basically.
That's fantastic.
So sometimes I just want just the waffle.
I love it. Wow. I had a best case scenario for gifts this year, truly the best case, where, you know, a while ago, my girlfriend and I talked about like, oh, what do you want for Christmas? And then write it down, get those gifts. And I realized a couple days before Christmas, like, oh crap, I really want new ice skates. Because I used to, like, that was my lunchtime routine, is back where the MinnMax studio used to be, up in like Northeast Minneapolis. I would go to Logan Park, a little park there in Minneapolis, and I could rent skates and I would just skate around for a little exercise every day. But where I moved, there's an ice rink, but I can't rent skates. And so I was like, God, I need to get ice skates. Anyways, the point is I desperately wanted these and I forgot to ask for them. But my girlfriend is very, apparently, like, she pays attention really well and knew this, and I had mumbled it at some point. So it's the best case scenario of just opening up a big box in Christmas morning, and it was the thing that I desperately wanted but forgot to ask for. It's just
amazing.
Also,
amazing.
It felt like I was back in the 1950s or something, like ice skates for Christmas. Perfect. That was great.
Ben, I learned how to ice skate last week.
Last week?
Yeah, I found my mom's pair that she grew up with, like in my like my grandparents don't live there, so I'm not exposing my grandparents to COVID. They live in like a more like senior appropriate home now, but like my mom's childhood home is just like empty in Wisconsin, and so I went there over break and found her ice skates, and there's a pond there. So I learned how to ice skate, and I brought them back. And so I went ice skating yesterday.
Oh, wow.
This old lady flooded the park by my house so people could ice skate.
That's perfect. I had the worst case scenario where I'm not good at ice skating at all. And so my first time out this year, I went to the rink and was just, basically baby giraffing it. Like, and then just as I get on the rink, a freaking camera crew shows up, and it's WCCO, and they're like, we're here filming people enjoying winter activities. And it's just a worst case scenario for like, just imagine trying to get your feet underneath you, and then they're like zooming in on my stupid wobbly legs.
Did you find the news
one
story?
skater is having a little trouble.
Local idiot. No, I looked at the news story. Worst part, they didn't even use any of the ice skating footage. They had too much like toboggan footage or some crap to use instead for talking about this winter people are going outside. But sorry, Anna, did you have another gift in mind or one that you gave?
Yeah, I did. I got so my boyfriend got me it's a gift, but it's also a reference. He bought me a Charizard onesie. But it's not just a Charizard onesie. I tweeted about it. It's not just a Charizard onesie. It's the same Charizard onesie, or the same kind of onesie that this music artist I like a lot, Bad Bunny, wore while performing live this one time. And so this incredibly popular artist performed one time wearing a Charizard onesie. Like all the news outlets wrote about it. And so my boyfriend got me the Bad Bunny Charizard onesie.
That's perfect. Did you recreate the show then and sang all of her hits?
No.
Okay.
But I, for my first, whenever we get to have Halloween parties, again, the outfit, it's like these clear pink sunglasses. It's the Charizard onesie, and then it's white Crocs, white platform Crocs. And so I plan on recreating the outfit entirely at some point as a costume.
I was, this was really my holiday break, is while I was playing Yakuza, like grinding and stuff, I listened to Blank Check podcast commentaries for Toy Story. And I believe it was on this episode. You said Halloween party, and it jogged in my mind. But somebody came up with the best couples costume idea of all time, which is a fun, deep cut, but a couples costume of the Toy Story 1 pterodactyl and doll, where Sid like ripped off the head and swapped them. Wouldn't that be the greatest couples costume?
Yeah.
Everybody, please do that. Next year, please send me pictures, if it's safe, of you at a Halloween party as the pterodactyl and doll head rip-off thing from Toy Story 1. Anyways, Christian Jimenez writes in and says, not a question, but a big shout out to Anna for her holiday segment in the how-to style. I just watched the show based on her praise, and it is something special. The name of the show, one more time, Anna, is
How To with John Wilson.
There we go. Her segment was really unexpected and deserves lots of praise for sticking the landing. Well done, Anna. That was the holiday special. That was made
in a fever dream.
It was funny. Like I saw that and I was like, boy, I don't know what percentage of the audience will get that this is trying to mirror that How To with John Wilson style from HBO. Maybe 5%. It's like, I hope people just don't think Anna's super weird. That she's going for this parody.
Thinking I'm weird personally. Like, what's wild is how easy it was to make. Like, I think part of the reason why I liked How To so much was that I was like, holy crap, like my brain kind of thinks like this, like sometimes. So it didn't take that much effort to make.
It's funny. Yeah, I like their comments too. They're like, man, my goal in life is to be as chill as Anna was during that segment. It's like, you just came across as super relaxed and not stumpily John Wilson. It's perfect. Dunder writes in and says, hey, Ben in the CLCs, what was the most unique game you played this year? Not something on your top 10 list, but something you think very few others played. For example, about a year ago, a buddy and I beat the Simpsons arcade game and Area 51 at an arcade bar. Pretty good. Glad you enjoyed it before they all went out of existence. Most unique game, what do you think for 2020?
I played Stick Life RPG on stream a couple weeks ago. and I feel like I was one of the only people to play that in 2020.
What is that?
It's a Flash game that I and everybody else in my age group played in grade school, where you're just a stick guy and you go to school to level up to get a better job, to go give a kid cigarettes so he'll give you a skateboard and go get in bar fights.
Is this an Armor's game or an Addicting Games game?
I believe it was an Addicting Games game.
Okay.
Right.
Perfect. That's good. That's good. This question was tough. It's a deep cut, but because I played so many arcade games this year, my nephew got really into brawlers, which I'd tried showing him before, just like, here's something easy, just bang a button and play these. But it wasn't until he came across a 1991 Capcom game called The King of Dragons that like it clicked in, and he is obsessed with The King of Dragons, which is just like a forgettable fantasy brawler from Capcom. But I therefore have played through that game multiple times this year. So if anybody has any questions about The King of Dragons, the game that I don't even know if Capcom knows they own, please let me know.
I played a really interesting game this year called Tomorrow Won't Come for Those Without. I read about it after reading about it on, on Fanbyte, Merritt K. It was on their list of the year top 10, and I considered putting it on my top 10, but it's like this crazy, it's described as a futuristic post-religion game that takes place in a hotel, and it's like kind of like, I played it because it's kind of like Earthbound-esque, and it's just like kind of bizarre and strange, and it's a good game, but it's kind of like hard to play, you know. But it's like you're discovering these murders, and the hotel service is really bad, and that's about it.
I don't know which is worse.
Yeah, right.
Ooh. Jeff, anything stand out for you?
I guess it's much more mainstream, but I'd say Superliminal was probably the most kind of interesting and unique game that I played this year.
That's right.
It's basically just all perspective kind of shifting weird. You can, if you hold an object up close, the object actually becomes that size, and if you hold it far away, it becomes really small, and you're using that mechanic to solve various puzzles and stuff. It feels like the Stanley Parable, in that kind of like indie first person. We're experimenting with the format of games as much as we are puzzle mechanics.
Yeah. Ricky Winterborn submits a comment on Patreon. Question as well. He says, do you think in 20 to 30 years, video games, especially keeping retro consoles and memorabilia, will be the sad, cringy baseball cards of our older lives? Will our kids think we're lame for keeping a Super Nintendo around and not plugging a PlayStation 12 into our butts? Great question, Ricky.
I mean, your kids will think you're lame no matter what you do, because they're your kids, you know.
I think,
and to be fair, you will be lame in 30 years.
Yeah.
So.
You probably are now.
You got to accept it.
Ricky Winterborn, how dare you, Leo? I think this is inevitable. Don't you think?
Yeah.
That it'll be absolutely the lame thing. They're like, oh no, don't go into daddy's gaming room. Don't tear it apart. I mean, Jeff, you must be bracing for this.
Although I feel like video games will be more relevant than baseball cards are when we're older. So
I guess, but new video games. Whereas, you know, it's like I loved Pokemon cards growing up, but if I saw my dad's baseball cards collection, actually, wait, no, I think cards are kind of cool no matter what if you're a kid. I think I would have liked any cards.
Yeah, I guess I don't know the comparison for what is lame. I feel like I had nothing but respect for my elders as a child.
Yeah, there we go. Jonathan D says, hey gang, I was thinking about old cheat codes the other day and wanted to know, what is the oldest cheat you remember? Mine would have to be Twisted Metal 2's God mode. Of course, anybody listening, by the way, I hope somebody listening is playing Twisted Metal 2 right now, because I'm about to make your day. All you have to do is hold down L1, L2, R1, and R2, and then press up, down, left, right, left, down, up. Truly, Jonathan says, the only way 5-year-old me was able to finish the game. Thank you, Jonathan. Oldest cheat you remember? Konami code doesn't count.
Right.
I'm sorry, but that is the oldest one I remember. And it was for playing the actual Contra. And it was the only way that you could actually play that game, because 3 lives when you're like 5 years old playing Contra is impossible. Even with like, it gives you like 30 lives or whatever in that, it was still way too hard for, you know, me and my friends to play at that age, but at least it was a little closer.
Yeah.
I knew the Konami code before it was cool,
all right,
guys.
All right, we got it. Jesus, relax. Anybody else have a cheat code in mind?
Okay, so I remember a cheat code, but not for the game. So this is a fun game. Like, I'm pretty sure it was one of the civilizations, but the code was George Crushington. And it turns you get like a giant stone head of George Washington, and it just like rolls and crushes everything.
That's good.
I'm pretty sure it was for one of those games, but like I just have such a vivid memory of my older brother showing me this and being like, hey, like, here's what you do. And so, but I don't remember exactly which game it was.
Which save it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't think about, PC cheats, but absolutely. Like Age of Empires 1 was so huge for like typing in Big Daddy. And then I think with the expansion, you typed in Big Mama and you got like a black and white car, which is very fun for me then as a Age of Empires fan and Metal Gear fan when Big Mama became a character within Metal Gear. And it's like, oh, it's like the white car from Age of Empires. And I think Daddy Warbucks, is that the cheat for more money? I forget.
Maybe the code was for Age of Empires.
For a big head? I don't think so. Unless it was Age of Empires 2.
I'll do some research.
Yeah. Please get to the bottom of it.
Now that I think about it, I remember one in the game Oni, which I really liked. Oni, that Bungie third-person action game. There was a code where you could switch between all the character models on that level. You could just press like 2 of the F keys to toggle between playing as all of these different character models.
Wait, so are you saying they did Watch Dogs Legions before?
They did.
Watch Dogs Legions.
And they did it better.
Boy, this is insane. I Googled Daddy Warbucks cheat code. It turns out this is a deeper cut than I imagined. That's how you get money in Sim Safari, which I guess I did play. Yeah.
The Sims had some great, and I don't know at which point it's a cheat code and at which point it's just like, oh, this is, for you to help you play the game.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if there's like a distinction there.
Yeah, everything's for you. You're the center of the gaming world. Justin Ray submits a comment and says, Ben, I want you to put one of the cohorts on the spot and ask them something, and they only have 10 seconds to answer. And of course, Justin doesn't point this out, but it's heavily implied that it's Jeffem. Jeffem, 10 seconds to answer. Top 5 games of all time.
Link to the Past, Super Metroid we'll put on there. We'll put Tetris on there. That's all I got. I don't know.
There it is, the big 3 or whatever. Hope you enjoyed that, Justin. Victor Pham has a damning question. If we're ready to get damned, he says, are the best written stories in gaming able to stand up to the best written stories in literature, theater, film, and television? I got chills down my spine just
like
reading this.
It's like a 3-hour, 6-hour podcast.
The deepest dive on Victor Pham's question.
I'm just like rubbing my head thinking about it.
I love games a lot. In fact, I'd say my career is based on that. Still, my first reaction to this was, oh no. Does that make me terrible, or is our medium just not there yet?
The answer is
not there
yet. I think the stories can live as high up with those other mediums in our memories of them. Like there are definitely games that I've played where I'm like, oh man, that story was absolutely amazing. But in terms of the actual storytelling that you're going through and the pacing and everything and just the interactive nature of games, I think that is always going to kind of make it feel rudimentary and half broken. Like unless they're aping, movies where they're taking away all of that control from you. If you're able to interact with the story and with characters and cutscenes and stuff, I think they haven't figured out a way to make that feel as good as a passive kind of medium.
go ahead, Leo.
I think you would find that in indie games sometimes. I think they've definitely gotten closer and been more impressive, but it's like the problem is the best stories and movies don't have to fit in a couple factions of 10,000 guys that the protagonist kills throughout the movie.
Yeah.
And that's just what video game stories have had to accommodate for the whole genre's existence.
Yeah. I was thinking about a series, Leo. Tell me if this is boring as a series idea, but it's just a gameplay series where you start up a game and then start a timer until you break that game's narrative. So for example, it'd be like, all right, Mass Effect, how quickly can you shatter this game's any sense of coherent storytelling within this game? And realistically, you'd start it up. First time you get control of Commander Shepard, if you run around in circles for 45 seconds, she should not be the commander of the military. You know what I mean? So therefore, that immersion's shattered. Is that a fun series?
Every game then you'd be able to shatter it, right? Unless there's like a dog game where you can run around in circles.
I think there are some that slip through. Please let us know what ones you think of that can't be shattered. One I think of is like, and this is probably just because I love the game so much, but I think of like Shadow of the Colossus. As insane as you could be in that game, I feel like everything's kind of justified because you're in this insane world where insane things are happening and you're kind of like an outcast loner who clearly is having a lot of mental problems dealing with the world. So I can run around that temple in circles and be like, yeah, that seems like something Wander would do because it's such an insane environment. Yeah, sure. It's not broken.
Oh, chat is saying Untitled Goose Game.
Ooh.
Sage Pass chat.
Is that the most coherent video game narrative of all time?
Honestly.
I mean, wouldn't any like piece of sort of interactive fiction sort of fall into, that?
Yeah.
Because your interactions are very controlled.
I mean, to tie it back, if found, you can't break it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's like...
Tim Laro brings up Guitar Hero. Incorrect. If you don't hit a single note, then you are not a Guitar Hero, therefore breaking the narrative of becoming a Legend of Rock yourself. That's a tough one. Sorry to be pessimistic, but game narratives are hard. And as much as we love them, it's just tough to compete with the juggernauts.
They're great for a different reason, which is not necessarily you're telling this amazing, cohesive, passive story that the audience can't interact with, but because you get to be part of a story. And if that makes them a little wonky compared to a movie or a book, then, so be it.
Yeah.
No, even though video games, like, we're pretty much in agreement here, it's like, okay, it's not like at that highest art, level of art narratively. Like, Yakuza Like a Dragon is approaching like a decent drama, Oh, like,
it is beyond a decent drama. Yeah, I never thought that I'd be into a crime drama story, and ultimately that's what's going on there. In terms of investment, I feel like video games can absolutely surpass other mediums, but I think it's tough. Anyways, hey, Crater says, I had to do some research. Crater says, with the recent realization that Stardew Valley violated the Geneva Convention, what other seeming innocent and adorable games do you think have committed unknown atrocities? So what happened is there is patch notes.
Yeah, you just screwed me on the community. Get a load of this, Hanson.
Oh, sorry.
Good job.
Well, you can find another one while I explain this. No. But what happened is that there was a patch for Stardew Valley, and one of the patch notes was replaced the Red Cross so that we weren't in violation of the Geneva Convention. And it turns out the hospital in that game had a Red Cross on top, and apparently that can only be used by actual medical personnel just so it doesn't get blurry or messy in terms of like, hey, if you're on a battlefield and you see that, you know that somebody's not just referencing Stardew Valley, that they're actually there to save your life.
And the amount of troops that tried to go into their Nintendo Switches to visit that medical tent.
That's why there's that's why there's so many casualties in World War I. It's just a body count, just stacked.
Stacked at the TV, the bottom of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's tough to beat. Can anybody think of another example of an adorable game that committed atrocities?
Off the top of my head?
I mean,
thinking about like adorable games that are like horrifying. Maybe I misunderstood the question. That adorable games that are horrifying when you think about it.
Yeah, I guess that works. Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah, I got
like-
one.
go Jeffa.
I've been complaining about it for years, folks, and that's Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Because
great example.
You are capturing these animals and then forcing them to fight each other endlessly.
Yeah, that's a great example. My parents were always like, Anna, do you really like animals? Because I'm like, I like Pokemon because I like animals. And they're like, you really?
They're calling your bluff on liking animals.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're 5 years old. Like, they're really pushing me. Similarly, I feel like Kirby is like a weird, dark thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're sucking up these other beings, like ingesting them, and then like, you just like eat them and you don't really think about it. And then you take on their powers. Like, it's incredibly dark.
Or locking enemies in an egg in Yoshi. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. From their perspective,
Or
everything's
stomping
worth
on
it.
turtles.
Yeah, killing turtles is no fun. There's no doubt.
Pretty much every game, right?
Just Nintendo seems to be the deviance in this case.
Yeah, I mean, Mario
Yeah.
stomping on a slur for Italians for decades.
That is
That's
true.
true. That's true.
And eating mushrooms while he does it.
That monster.
And we're not supposed to talk about that.
No.
Hey, Strange Sloth submits a comment on Patreon. Says, what did you do for New Year's? I got wasted with my chooms in real life. A little cyberpunk for you. We went to the snow. That's a funny way of phrasing it. We went to the snow and played chess. That sounds pretty cool, Strange Sloth. Leo, you just did mushrooms?
For the holidays?
Yeah.
It was a FaceTime with the family, hang out in the house with my girlfriend. For Thanksgiving and Christmas, we just got a bunch of recipes that we normally would have with our family and tried to cook them here. That was fun. I made some rolls that turned into biscuits more because I screwed them up, and some guacamole and a beef brisket.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah,
That's pretty nice little name.
Yeah. We did the same thing where it recreated my normal family meal, which strangely enough for Christmas and Thanksgiving, actually, we always go for steak and artichokes. And then also my mom makes this awesome like cranberry bread. So we made it all here and it was good. It was
Nice.
almost as good as home, this home. But what about New Year's, which is what Sloth is going for specifically?
Oh, New Year's. I
Yeah.
missed that part. We hung out for a couple hours and then watched TV. And then when it was about to turn into midnight, we found like some live channel that's available on our streaming box somehow. And it showed fireworks happening in countries where they're allowed to go outside and socialize because they had a lockdown.
Cool.
And it was like, oh yeah, that could imagine living like that.
Makes sense.
That sounds
My
wonderful.
wife and I watched It's a Happy New Year, Charlie Brown.
Okay.
And then, but that, was only like 15 minutes. And then we watched Soul
Ooh.
on Disney Plus.
New Pixar. Yeah.
It was good. It was good. I mean, it's a little, it feels more like a show for adults, like going through midlife crisis than it is a show for kids.
That's definitely a critique of a lot of Pixar's work, especially lately. Yeah, I was watching that and I was like, man, I just kept thinking about how this would play in a theater. Because even I love Pixar and Toy Story 4, I felt like for the first third, my theater that was full was pretty quiet. And I think Soul, I'm like, I don't know when kids would react in a big way. Not that movies need that, but it's just interesting how they've evolved. And watching that, I just want them to rip off the Band-Aid and just make a Fantasia, make something completely abstract. Like, I don't feel like they're softening their movies. They want to make popular movies. I get that. But at the same time, I watched Soul and it's like, that is it's a really powerful short that feels padded. And I kind of wish it was just revamped to be something a little weirder and more abstract. Because it's my favorite art direction in any Pixar film ever. Like, I think the characters are incredible looking. And like the guards in the afterlife world that are just basically strings is just incredible.
Yeah, I liked the character and I liked the story of the things that he was going through, but that just fundamentally didn't seem like it was for kids, and that does not seem like a satisfying conclusion for children.
Yeah, I kind of had the complete opposite reaction that I had to Onward, where I was expecting to really like Soul and I was expecting to not like Onward. And I got to the end of Soul and I was like, oh, that's cool. Especially that sequence where it shows New York City and it just keeps zooming out. It's one of my favorite picture sequences ever. But still, even at the end of the movie and throughout the entire thing, I wasn't that emotional. Whereas Onward, I wanted not to like it. And then by the end, I was in tears. I'm like, wow, this movie works, I guess. I wanted to poo-poo it, but it was effective. But anyways, Anna, did you have a good New Year's?
Yeah. We played, with my housemates and my boyfriend, we played Just Dance 2020 up until, midnight or through midnight. We played that game all night. Do
you know what song you were dancing to while the clock hit midnight?
What was the last one we played? It was a weird one. There's a lot of Katy Perry on Just Dance 2020 for some reason. And so I feel like it was not a super exciting song. I think it was Swish Swish.
Okay.
By Katy Perry.
All right.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah. I played a lot of games, if you listen to Better Quest, Grant called in and played the Initials game. We played that. And I was just on a group call with Dave Clapp, friend of the show. And then Tim Turry and Dan Reichert and those folks. And then we played Codenames because there's that online Codenames version, which is great, which sounds like a joke, but remember, it is actually horsepaste.com. And it's just an online functional version of Codenames that is great to play over Zoom. So please, everybody, check out Horsepaste, please. But it's fun because it was New Year's where there were 3 different time zones. So I got to celebrate 3 times. So it was, a bit of a slog to get to that West Coast, but we did it, damn it. Ben Shively asks, here's a question that has been weighing on all of our minds for several long years. In the year 2024, what will they call Madden? Madden 25 was already a thing in 2013 to celebrate its 25th anniversary, so what will they do? Will kids get the PS4 launch title for Christmas rather than the 2024 version? It's a great question, Ben. I love this question.
They're going to call it Madden 2077.
I'd play that one.
That's smart. I think realistically, they will just call it Madden 25 because it will have been so long that the chance of people being really confused with that is so small. Or do you think
that's going to suck because everyone's going to have to write it Madden 25 parentheses 2025.
2024 technically, which is even funnier.
Yes.
Perfect. Or do they officially call it Madden 2025 for the first time?
Or just call it Madden 37 or whatever it'll actually be. When they called it Madden 25.
But those for the 25th anniversary? Well, I guess that's the same thing then. You're right.
So it'd be whatever the anniversary is.
Or
call it Madden 25 too, like Final Fantasy.
I think that's the correct answer. Yeah, make it like Final Fantasy. And change it to Roman. Or just change it to Roman numerals in general.
Right.
There we go.
Or they'll it'll be Madden 1. And they'll be
right.
Like this. Yeah.
Reboot.
And then it's just like Leatherheads, that classic film that everybody has at the top of their tongues.
George Clooney.
There we go. His finest directorial work. Travis Manick says, hello, Ben and not Ben. Hold for applause. Pretty good, Travis. There it is. Final Fantasy VII Remake has gotten 1 patch, and it was in October, 6 months after the game came out. The same way we talk about games like Assassin's Creed and Cyberpunk for being famously broken, is there any way we can give a shout out to huge-scale games that seemingly get it right? Obviously, there are big differences in size and scope / production, but you can't deny that Final Fantasy VII Remake was a big game and it ran fantastic since day one. Totally true. Even on my base PS4, that game was a champ. I know people point to the one door where the texture doesn't pop, but that's a pretty small thing for how good that game looks overall.
Yeah, that's just a tick in the pro column. If the only thing you can come up with is one door has kind of a muddy texture, then congratulations, you did a great job with that game.
Yeah, but the open world stuff in particular, I think Breath of the Wild doesn't get enough credit for not really being a buggy game. Like, you think of all the systems, all the physics, there's definitely some jank in that game, but for it to come out as solid as it did is unheard of. If that was a Ubisoft game, forget about it.
Yeah, it's like just slow down on some explosions is all I ever noticed.
Right.
Yeah, in the Kurok forest. So.
Yeah.
Did Ghosts of Two Shiba Inus have a lot of problems?
No, that was solid too. Yeah.
That seems pretty solid.
Yeah, hats off to Sucker Punch. I mean, they've made a lot of open worlds. What's that, Leo?
You just gotta spend a super long time.
Yeah, that's it. Take your time, everybody.
Yeah.
So Jackson Arnold wrote in talking about how he got an Oculus Quest 2 and his family is blown away by it. And he's like, is this honeymoon hype? Why aren't people obsessed with VR? He said his mom is just head over heels. Bill Kuhn also wrote in asking about a similar thing, saying I got an Oculus Quest 2 and what VR games should I play? Leo?
Check out my top 10 list.
Oh.
A few recs on there. Pistol Whip is on the headset alone, though. You don't need a PC for that. And they got that new campaign that's really good.
Okay, so Pistol Whip and then Until You Fall, is that the name of the other one?
Yes, but that is a Steam one.
Okay. Gotcha.
Only.
Well, we lost Jeff, but you get the idea. Other VR recommendations?
Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners, VR Chat. VR Chat's on the headset too, actually. And you can play Beat Saber in VR Chat. There's a Beat Saber world.
What?
I think somebody just recreated Beat Saber. It's not perfect, but it works.
That's insane. I like it. Danny Yorkus writes in and says, MinnMaxers, I have some statistics for you all from 2020. Here are the stats for how many of your Get a Load of This segments counted by each of you. Wait. Okay. Here are the stats for how many of your Get a Load of This segments counted by each of you declaring Get a Load of This. So this is whether or not we actually said Get a Load of This before declaring our Get a Load of This.
Not feeling good about this for me.
Danny, you're a hero for compiling this. The lowest. Does anyone want to guess the lowest percentage?
Jameen?
No, Leo. Hold your head high.
Is it me?
Nope. But you were barely second. This is Suriel Vazquez. Had a measly 34% of his Get a Loads of This with a preface of saying Get a Load of This. Anna's next at 53%. Leo at 55%. Oh, just squeaked by her.
Really?
Kyle, 60%. I said it 73% of the time. And Jeffem had 36 out of 36 for a whopping 100% Get a Load of This preamble.
Wow.
Incredible.
He deserves his own MinnMax award for that.
He says, even being sleep deprived towards the end of the year, Jeffem is the official Get a Load of This king. I agree.
That's why he grabs the community ones, because he's so good at giving loads of things.
He sure is.
He's the best.
Sorry, that game didn't think.
No, you're right, Anna. You're so right. What do y'all like for a question of the week?
Man 25.
I do like Man 25.
That's a good one.
I like the Geneva Convention one just because I like that little tidbit. I like the most unique game we played this year. I like old cheat codes. I like the writing in games versus other mediums.
Yeah.
Good questions this week, community. Thank you.
What do you think, Backstage Pass? Let us know what your favorite question of the week was. Jeff, and what stands out to you for favorite question of the week?
Oh, there was one in there.
Yep, it probably was. I'm leaning towards most unique game we played this year.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, Backstage Pass. By the way, Jeff, you said Get a Load of This 100% of the time. Danny Yorkus wrote in about it, just so you're aware.
Did I?
Yes, you
did.
know,
I have wondered about that in the past. It keeps me up at night.
I understand that.
Actually, because I used to give everyone crap for it.
All right.
Glad I had it.
Should we give it to Dunder?
Dunder.
All right, Dunder done did it. Congratulations, Dunder. You win an amazing vinyl album soundtrack from I Am 8-Bit. So look out for that, and I'll reach out to you and get your address. And if you want to win a prize on your own, you can support us on Patreon, submit a question or comment, and then we'll ship out something nice. Yes.
What's our runner-up for the stickers?
Isn't that a question? What do you think?
Madden.
Yeah.
Geneva Convention's right there. I mean, Danny did a lot of research for those stats on Get a Load of This.
That was good too.
Yeah,
we can't just reward the most effort. Cheat codes is good.
The competition's it's still even for second.
I know.
It's really.
What do you think?
Man 25 is just such an original thought.
Okay. All right.
This person
Leo
didn't
likes
read
Madden
a tweet
25.
about it or anything. You know?
Give him Madden 25.
Well, reward passion, Ben Shively. Congratulations. You win stickers from Pretty Good Printing, and we'll reach out to you and you get to choose which sticker set you want. Also, you know that Pretty Good Printing is great because they sent me all of the stickers in a Perfect Dark box on 64 for some reason, which is pretty sweet. And now it's time for something we call Get a Load of This.
Get a load of this.
Yeah, take it, Anna.
Okay. Get a load of this. So this producer and composer did like a funk cover of One Winged Angel.
All right.
Their name is Alex Mukala. I don't know if I'm pronouncing their last name correctly. And it is so funky and so fun. And I think I listen to it like once a day.
A funky version. I'm very curious how that sounds, but the link is below for everybody.
Very slappy bass heavy.
I love it. Leo?
Ingest an amount of this. On Madden 2003, well, I'll preface this. There was a thread going around 2 years ago that started by Steve Gaynor of like weird little developer embarrassing bugs, embarrassing game dev crimes, he put it.
Just little tricks, right?
Yeah, I enjoyed that thread at the time, and this one resurfaced that I missed the first time that I thought was really good. From Jim Hedgel. On Madden 2003, we had a bug where all the players vanished. Just a stadium, a field, and a ball at midfield. A junior coder named James said, "Did you check inside the ball?" Smirking, we checked with the debug camera, and there they were. Tiny players in formation inside the football.
Freak out.
That's amazing.
That's philosophical.
Leo, how'd they get there?
Development is mysterious.
That's so weird. Hey, get a load of this. There's a podcast by a friend of the show, Kelsey Lewin. She's the co-host along with Frank Cifaldi. It's called the Video Game History Hour Podcast. And I like to learn things from my video game podcast. And this is an incredibly informative podcast, not just because I was on it talking about Oregon Trail, but there's one episode in particular, and the guest is Matt Alt, who wrote a book on the impact of Japanese products and culture. But there's an episode that he was on where they talked about Gunpei Yokoi from Nintendo, the designer of the Game & Watch and Game Boy, Virtual Boy, which is, I thought I understood like the high level, like, okay, I think I get Gunpei. He's a really interesting story within Nintendo. He tragically died way too soon. Otherwise, he would still be heralded as a Nintendo legend. They talk about, you know, how he died, unfortunately, like really before the internet took off in a huge way, and the internet groundswell of like passion for Miyamoto, like would that have been split with Gunpei Yokoi? It's unclear. But if you just want to learn a lot about that early history, well, not like the 1800s history, but the early history of Nintendo and them getting into toy design, game design, definitely check out the Video Game History Hour podcast episode, where they talk about the fact that Gunpei Yokoi is the one that designed Donkey Kong, which I had no idea. And apparently Miyamoto just designed the characters, but like the gameplay, Yokoi says that he designed it. And the fact that it's based, I knew that it was based on Popeye and they lost the Popeye license and then switched over to Donkey Kong. That's kind of fun video game pop culture trivia. But I didn't know specifically that it was based on one episode of Popeye, which is called A Dream Walking. So if you look at this episode of Popeye, it's just this big battle on like a construction site with a bunch of girders and stuff like that. Like all that comes from this one specific episode of Popeye, which is so strange.
Wow.
Also, I know I'm rambling, but they also talk about just the impact of Japanese video games, Nintendo's games on America. And all this stuff just felt like it was coming from another world. And I remember, I believe from Matt Alt's book, there was that story where one of the tech leads on the NES was talking about that. And he's like, yeah, a lot of our ideas were just like from anime. But because like Americans had never seen that before, they thought like those crazy Japanese are so inventive with these games, which obviously, not to say Nintendo's games aren't creative, but just a lot of those ideas had been surfacing before. And in this episode, they talk about just how a lot of Koji Kondo's soundtrack for Mario came from popular music in Japan at the time, which was called city pop, like city pop music. And they played examples, and this is real quick. Here's just an example. Here's a track from around that era called Friendship. Just a popular track.
Exactly.
Now, I don't think I even need to...
Oh, sorry, that was him talking in the video. That was confusing. I was like, I don't recognize that voice. But it's crazy. And even Koji Kondo has said, and not to say that he's not a brilliant creator, obviously he is, but he's taking inspiration from these things that just the West was not as attuned for, or we've kind of lost track of. But in 1984, right before that Super Mario Brothers was made, there's a band called T-Square that released an album that Koji Kondo has said was an influence on Mario's soundtrack, and I'll play it here. So this is a track called Sister Marion from T-Square, released in 1984. Right when this Twix ad is done. It's crazy, like, yeah. It's basically just, hey, Mario was not made in a vacuum. Anyways, they talk about all this stuff in that episode of the Video Game History Hour Foundation podcast, so please check that out.
That's as interesting as it is despicable.
Oh, interesting. There it is. Jeffem.
Yeah, get a load of this. This is a dumb thing I learned, or maybe I am dumb for not knowing it until now. But did you guys all know that Canada has a queen?
Its own queen?
Oh.
It's a queen.
Oh.
Wait.
And you know the queen, it's Queen Elizabeth.
Well, yeah.
Apparently, Queen Elizabeth is also the Queen of Canada. And the article that I was reading about it said that she basically is in charge of Canada, both the government, and she's the commander-in-chief of the military, the Canadian military. But because they have a constitutional monarchy, she basically just relinquishes, she lends all of her power to whoever the prime minister is at the time to act on her behalf.
But the next queen could change that.
Yeah, a lot of the laws still say in service of Queen Elizabeth or whatever. It's still kind of all written into it, and it raised some red flags of recent years of because the article is very much like, well, technically, she does have all of these powers, but no one in their right mind would ever try and use them or question that. It's like,
right.
Get that down in writing, guys.
Because who inherits the throne next?
It says either Prince Charles or his kid.
Oh, wait, it could skip Prince Charles?
The oldest. I think the article was basically, I assume it's Prince Charles unless Prince Charles dies before the Queen dies, is what I'm assuming.
Gotcha.
We're going to have a Queen royal baby someday. Isn't that cool to think about?
That's going to be funky. Jeffem, community. We have a community Discord channel where people share gets a load of this. Yes.
This one was from Leafy Annika. I am Leafy and has changed his name.
Gotcha.
Okay. But it is a Kotaku article by Ethan Gash that says, former Xbox executives say Nintendo laughed their asses off when Microsoft offered to buy it. And apparently this was from a long time ago. Microsoft went to a meeting with Nintendo and offered to purchase them because they said they weren't very good at doing hardware at the time, and so they thought that Nintendo could do that. And the quote is from Kevin Bacchus. He says, Steve Ballmer, Microsoft's former CEO, made us go meet with Nintendo to see if they would consider being acquired. And they just laughed their asses off. Imagine an hour of somebody laughing at you. That was kind of how the meeting went. So apparently they were not into it, but
I love that.
One of those fun historical moments of Microsoft just overreaching a little and getting put in their place.
Perfect. Also, I love the tours that, I don't know if you watched that Miyamoto tour of the Super Nintendo world that's in Japan now. It's just fantastic, and it's fun to see him very much in his element, and he calls himself the father of Mario. And but I just see that, and it's in my mind, there's no way that Disney has not purchased Nintendo within the next 50 years, right? Am I nuts? And I just think it's going to be such a weird relic to have this universal Super Nintendo land when realistically, when all media is just boiled down and Disney has absorbed almost everything, since Nintendo is definitely on that list.
I mean, but that's actually an interesting question that I don't feel qualified to, but it's also a geopolitical issue, right? Like, it's not just like Japan as a country has their own national interests, and wouldn't it be in their national interest potentially to like not have such a large producer of like media be bought by Disney?
I mean, you'd think so, but you think about Tencent buying every form of media throughout the world now, and it's not like, you know, I don't think the American government steps in to be like, hey, back off Epic. That's our national pride, you know? So maybe Japan would be better at that? I don't know. We're definitely out of our element, but that's an interesting idea. Yeah. Anyways, thanks so much for watching or listening to this episode of the MinnMax Show. Let's see, we have a new episode of Better Quest, our show all about getting better with Jeff Cork. That's going to be airing on Thursday, and we're changing it up. So if you are in the Better Quest channel and you're sharing personal goals, it's the start of the year. Imagine a lot of people are setting goals, New Year's resolutions for themselves. It's a way to hold each other accountable, is to go into that channel on the Discord and talk about what your goal is. We actually have a spreadsheet where you can enter it along with your level. There's a whole community level system, so you can check that out. And then we're going to be taking calls from the community based on whoever has the most interesting goal or has accomplished the most. We've had somebody who has lost over 100 pounds since Better Quest started, which is just incredible. So we're going to be taking some of those calls and working together to get better in 2021. So we'd encourage you to join that community in the MinnMax Discord. Also plug, we have the Deepest Dive for Cyberpunk still going on. New episode is going to be airing next week, so get ready to submit your thoughts on Act 2 of the game. We also made public something that's normally extremely private. Leo, do you want to talk about that editing stream?
Yeah, I do backstage pass editing streams before I do a watch later most every time, except for this week because it's embargoed content. So get extra excited for this week's watch later. But yeah, I do 1 or 2 editing streams where we just hang out and we shoot the crap. I answer editing questions. I take suggestions on music and how to put the video together and everything. And they're so fun. We were like, why don't we just put one out there so that people who are curious about that type of content can see what it's really like and see if it's really something they want to be a part of. So there's one up right now on our YouTube channel.
Yeah. So for everybody in the public, you can see on the YouTube channel what it's like to hang out with Leo for several hours in the Backstage Pass editing live stream. Anything else anybody wants to plug? There it is. Look forward to a new interview going up on Monday of next week. We have an interview with Brian David Gilbert. We're keeping the trend rolling of interviewing folks that have left big jobs, and he left Polygon, and so we learned all about that. Anna, did you interact with him much at Polygon?
Well, it's like such a small office, and he was like on the younger side. So like we had a group called like Poly Teens, which were like all the younger people. So like, even though I wasn't like on the video production team, like the video production team and the editorial team, they're like very close together, like literally and physically, like they collaborate a ton. So like, you know, like just because of those things, you know, knew him. Okay. It's funny. I knew when I was leaving Polygon, he had just gotten like a shipment of Halo books, and then like boxes and boxes of Halo books, just like I was stacking them on his desk. And then like, I feel like that video came out like 3 months ago, like a year after that, I saw that video come out. I was like, oh, I'm glad that Brian finally finished all of his Halo books.
Yeah, you have a full recap of every Halo book, which is just an insane goal, but I love that that video exists. So you can check that out on Monday. And yeah, Leo's Watch later on Friday. Should be fun. New gameplay footage, perhaps, of a certain upcoming game that we might talk about next week on the podcast. Look forward to that. Also, thanks to all of the Patreon supporters at the $50 tier on Patreon. If you want your name read here, you can go to patreon.com, support us at that tier, and we'll read your name throughout the month. Your name is also in the description for every piece of MinnMax content released. But thank you to PrettyGoodPrinting.com, Rich McLaughlin's Opposwitch, BeatenDownBrian, I Am 8-Bit, This Week in Video Games, Jawarhello, Mirko Arico-Torreno, Chris Logan, Zachary Pligge, Rebekah Lang. Jeff, I don't need to tell you who comes next. It's the one, the only, Mark Seliga, Starkiller as well, Ludwig Roque, Andrew Vala, Jesse Vitelli, SuperSeriousSam, Thomas Hosser, Yarrow, SpiralInYourEyes, Richard Smuts, Clint Farley, Preetham Yarlagadda, Clayton Myers, Spider-Dan, Zach Einck, Steve Bamdad, and SlyckNic. Thanks so much, everybody. Be good, have fun, let's go!